I truly believe
Live
this,
in 3,
even
2,
though I don't
1.
practice it very well.
Yeah. No, I it's so much good stuff. I want to talk about it on the stream because it's like
it is neat, isn't it? Because I mean, I definitely find myself. I mean, in a way, it's you almost become overwhelmed by options. If you start going like,
That's
okay,
true.
I can do anything, you go, oh crap, I can do anything.
And that's
You know
true.
what I mean?
I find that with ideas, these cool like, oh, I get jazzed. I have these cool like inspired ideas. Oh, I want to do this thing, and I have to not get distracted. I have to focus on the one big one, the one I know that's going to the one that I know is going to make. Yeah. But I know that the PC thing is going to fill the most of my bucket. You know what I mean? Like these other ideas are really cool, and I do want to pursue them, and I keep coming because like I keep coming back to them. That's a good sign that it's something that I should do. Is like I can't let go of it.
Jane says business plan. Whenever I come to her with an idea, she goes, okay, yeah, write up a business plan. And I'm like, and that will either kill it or I sit down and start writing.
That's what Alicia wants to.
So
she's
smart.
like, she's tired of hearing all these ideas. She's like, well, what are you going to do about it? Like, what do you want to do to do this? And it's like,
and Jane just goes like, that's a great idea. Like, give me a business plan. Let's get it going.
Down.
I'm like, okay, fine. That's like saying, shut up.
You're like, oh, this is getting a little serious, guys. I'm not gonna do this anymore.
And this is also why women should be running the planet. Like, I think all the guys should be on YouTube, ranting, raving, and doing what they like. And then women should just run the planet.
The fact that you don't think women already run the planet just shows
I wish they ran it more, frankly. I wish they ran it more.
In public, at least. Like,
you know.
What did I see? I saw a funny saying. It was like behind every great man was like a woman with her hand up his ass or something like that. It was like basically implying that men can't do anything, right? Without a woman, like like some very minimum approval, right? So, but I thought that was funny because I was like, yeah, it's actually true. Because at the end of the day, I mean, that's nature,
Well, it's been proven that they're better at multitasking, right? I mean,
there's plenty of that, yeah.
We suck
better decision making under pressure, better like working memory,
pain.
All that stuff. Yeah, pain tolerance.
We suck at pain.
G-force tolerance,
the G-force.
A hell of a lot.
Those are fun to watch. Those are fun to watch. You can see these side by side videos of like a woman astronaut and like a guy astronaut, and they're like synced, right? So they're going around like at the same time. The pressure on their face is different. Even like it doesn't even look like they're going through as much. It's like it's really intense.
Not only can they handle more G's,
and I'm sure that's
they're usually lighter too, like bone density wise and stuff.
Sure.
So it's like not only are they lighter, so they experience less G, but they also can handle more G, like overall. Because
I wonder how it affects them in space though, because they've only just started putting women in space. I'd be curious to know what it does, like because it freaking wrecks men. Like
the guy who spent a year up there and stuff.
Help me walk type thing.
Well, now they're saying, did you see that study where they said that like astronauts' brains permanently change once they go into space, even for a short period of time?
I believe it.
So they're doing MRIs, like they did. Was it Smart Kelly? I think it was either
the guy who spent a year out there, right?
Yeah, where he and his brother are twins. They're
they do one on Earth and one,
and so they did a study and they checked their blood and everything. Well, they did an MRI when they sent him up, and then they did like a bunch of MRIs when they came back, and they said that they saw like significant like brain activity and blood flow distribution issues and stuff that like remained when they came back to Earth.
I believe
so. Like it didn't adjust back, at least not in a short period of time. So
can you imagine being the other brother
though?
like okay, so your brother's in space. That's really cool. Yeah, and what do you do? Well, they take my heart rate too. They take my heart rate, and sometimes I pee in a little cup for them. You know, like it's so important, but at the same time, it's like it's got to be like you got to be like, oh fuck.
Well, to be fair, they both are pretty well-known, important people because they both worked in the space program. So, and they both went in space too. That's the thing is, like Mark Kelly is also an astronaut. He just wasn't the guy that went into space, on the space station for like a year and a half or whatever.
But how do you choose that? You're like which twin? You're like, oh, so you went with him? Why? Because he's 3 minutes older than I am, or whatever. Like, I mean,
three.
Yeah. They just call him up on the phone. Hey, whoever shows up last isn't going up. No,
go. Well, they just keep changing out. Like, the next mission, they just say it's the same guy, but they just show up.
That's it.
Like, hey, wasn't there a Soyuz capsule here this morning or whatever? And it's like them going down to do the parent trap swap.
Yeah.
Now the rocket flies up. It's like, hey, I thought we were getting resupply for like a month. That would actually be pretty fun.
Twins in space. There you go. That's the next. That'll be another series.
Yeah. So, David, why don't you tell everybody what you're doing this afternoon, just so that they know that they
Oh,
can
yeah. So we got
jump
this
around a
dial.
little bit.
It's Dial the Gate. David Reed, great guy. He's just been responsible for the best Stargate content ever. Like literally, when I went to when I went to do McKay and Stargate, I was like reading some of David's stuff to find out about the lore behind behind the show type thing.
Wow.
And he's got a show called Dial the Gate, and he brings in people every so often. And I'm usually a little we've been off the air for a while, so I tend not to do too much of the chatting about 15 years ago, when I had more hair, but he's just a good guy and always has a neat sort of perspective on stuff. And so he's got Mika in, and Mika is the real brains behind the math and science of the astrophysics, right? So she would come in and write all the equations on the board, and I'd stand in front of it and yell at people. So it was like,
these are both people directly involved with the show back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, David
awesome.
wasn't.
Cool.
David was like, David was sort of part of I believe it. God, did I get this right? I think it was gateworld.net, I believe is what he was doing.
So he was like the fan side of it.
On the fan side of it.
Gotcha. Like fan
now,
service.
if I got this wrong, I might have it wrong. I get people mixed up because old and COVID and stuff. But
How dare you?
But David's been there since the beginning. And so he thought it'd be kind of fun to sort of put me and Mika together again, because she's great. I mean, it's just embarrassing, basically. I'm gonna be like, they're gonna be like, dance, David, okay. And then Mika's gonna say something genius, and I'm gonna go, you know what I mean? So basically that's it. But I'm really curious to talk to her, because she's always got some neat perspectives on stuff. And I want to talk about James Webb and or the just wonderful space telescope, as we're now calling it.
James Webb is baller, man. I can't wait to see some of this. I mean, the stuff that we already got is pretty amazing. Like, just being able to see all those galaxies.
It's just cool. It's like taking the glasses off and putting the glasses on, the way they have the old version of what you could see, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, look at that. And we're also going to talk about the black hole.
Yeah, the funny thing is, though, is like the black hole photo, I guess, has been in the making for like 8 years.
Yeah, it was kind of a letdown. I was like, oh, look, it looks exactly like they thought it was going to look.
Yeah, it's like, wow, it looks just like the other one, only lower resolution and not quite as good. Yeah, no,
I mean, I know it's a breakthrough and all, but it's like, I was hoping to sort of see some kind of a space tentacle or something.
Yeah, imagine spending 8 years taking a photo and you realize your finger was on the lens or the focus was wrong. It's like, it's one of those.
That's
deals.
what you're worried about with the James Webb, right?
It totally was. Yeah,
I hope it unfolds.
Because like everything had to go flawlessly, right? If one thing went wrong,
a bunch of there
was like don't get me wrong, they had a bunch of redundant systems like they always do on these things, but still, it's like there was a lot of choke points, like the optics, right?
Dude, I can't fold my laptop and bring it downstairs without dropping it.
Right, without something going wrong. And it's like this thing has to launch on a rocket, basically shaking the ever living piss out of it and putting it under like breakneck G-force.
Yeah.
And that thing's expected that once it gets to its destination, the heat cycles from like what is it, like 400 degrees or something like that in the sun, and then negative 200 degrees in the shade. It's like this thing has basically been thermal cycled from hell, beaten up in the gravitron at the local fair, and it's still got to delicately, like, perfectly unfold, and all these lenses have to move within literally like not even a little bit. You couldn't even see them move. That's how little they're moving in steps.
And the flex. There's like even just the flex. They've had to build the flex and stuff into the. Yeah, it's amazing. And then I'd walk in and like spill my Coke on them or something.
Yeah, they literally just forged the optics. I thought that was cool. Like each one of the optics panels on the James Webb Telescope can actually bend.
Wow, because of the light, doesn't the light like bend it or something?
Well, you must,
ridiculous, like
gravity
the pressures of the photon actually.
It's the environment. It's like the zero temperature environment or whatever. And so each one of the mirrors not only moves like gimbals like this, but they can actually bend the geometry of the mirror to focus it. Crazy. And I was like, how do you even do something like that? Like, I know with precision where it'll hold. Because like your knobs on your TV drift after a while if you turn the temp up too much.
Right. I was like, oh no, Barnacules is talking about his knobs.
Yeah,
it's not good.
It's all right. They're too small to grab onto, so don't worry about it. They're zero threat.
We can't find the knob.
You can. It's more of a button these days. But I'll tell you what, dude. The James Webb Telescope. I cannot wait to see some of the things that it takes pictures of, because this thing should, in theory, be able to like take pictures that are sharp enough that you might even be able to see like some atmosphere. Around like some super giants.
Isn't that what they're trying to do? They're trying to get. They're trying to figure out whether the planets actually are.
This thing is going to be because the light field not only can it punch through the dust clouds that are like all around us. Apparently that's a big problem with space, is like the further you look away, the more dust basically it blocks the light, but it doesn't block the infrared spectrum. So the infrared spectrum just punches through all those dust particles. So it's like when you flip to infrared, like you've seen the Hubble, that like one of the most famous Hubble telescope photos that I'm sure everybody's seen somewhere at some point is like the giant freaking like cloud horn structure with all the stars in it.
Oh, sure.
It's called like the Cradle of Life or something like that. They think it's like where they think our star came from. Like our star was birthed in that nebula. And so they took a picture of it. It's an amazing picture, but the problem is you can't see but maybe like 3 or 4 stars in it because they're close enough to the edge of the nebula that you can punch through some of the dust and they're bright enough. However, with James Webb, you'll be able to take that picture not only in way greater resolution, but you're going to be able to switch to that IR spectrum and punch through the dust cloud, which means you'll be able to see every single planetary body inside of that cloud.
Well, and as light gets older, it gets redder, right? So they get, once they're into the infrared, you're seeing stuff that's further, like, further, it's like you go further back in time with it. It's
back in time.
And they're an artificial.
I mean, the next 10 years for space, I cannot. The next decade of space is going to be unfreaking believable.
Oh man,
people on we're going to be like people heading for Mars. We've got like the moon is going to be not colonized, but it's going to be.
Yep.
You know,
man, I hope so.
All over.
I hope that they have a permanent spot on the moon and it grows.
I don't see how we couldn't, honestly. Like with the way things are going right now.
Let's fuck that planet up. Woohoo!
Yeah, we just don't. Somebody said the funniest thing during a NASA broadcast. It was they were talking about the rovers on Mars, and like one of the broadcasters like wasn't even thinking. He was just like, you know, kind of ad-libbing, and he's like, damn, we're really polluting Mars, aren't we? Because they basically one of the rovers was like driving by and took a picture of like a smashed up vehicle that delivered
the heat shield. Yeah, it was
the heat shield was just laying there on the ground. And he's like, man, yeah, we're really littering the hell out of Mars or something like that. And the other broadcaster's like, oh shit, quiet. We're not. we're trying to be like we're exploring space. We're not just dumping our garbage on other planets. But it's like we do. What else?
But that's the problem, right? Like it's like everyone's like, well, look at it. It compares to the size of it, and you're like, yeah, but isn't that exactly how we got into this whole crap with the oceans and stuff? It's like, the ocean's freaking huge. Just go pee in it. It's fine.
Yeah. Like, but it's funny because it's like we don't want to contaminate. This is a really good point because this has already bit us in the ass once and cost a lot of money and a lot of time. Is we're contaminating the world that we're looking for signs of biologicals and stuff on.
Right.
So we're like driving along.
They're pretty strict about that.
Yeah, they're real. That kind of stuff. We're not dropping.
They already screwed themselves. They already screwed themselves twice with which was a Curiosity or whatever. They was like, oh my god, we found a processed metallic something because the spectrometer picked it up, and they basically just picked up a fragment of the heat shield.
No, but I mean, biologically, it's like you don't want like a freaking bacteria showing up and then going like, oops.
No, sure, no. We're really good at cleaning that stuff, but the problem is if you find signs of technology. Yeah. Then you can assume signs of life at least at some point.
Sure. And God knows what the Russians are
you land on a planet and you see a spaceship.
Clear that off. Yeah.
Exactly. You see a pyramid, you're like, somebody built that, right? Like the dust, the wind didn't blow and build like this perfect symmetrical structure with doors and everything. Like with a body and a giant golden tomb in the middle. You know, it's like you kind of infer, you're like, there might have been a civilization here at one point.
You've been watching Moon Knight?
Yeah. Moon Knight's good. I finished it.
It's super
cool. You know what? Well, I don't want to do spoilers, but there was at one point it sort of turned a bit into a Mighty Morphing Power Rangers episode, and I was like, you know, really? Because he's so good. I love him and all of his many guises. And
that's great.
I can't remember the name of the actor's name, but he's
watching his face.
I don't even know how they keep track of the Marvel universe anymore because, like, the more that you look at the big picture, the more plot holes appear. But still, they hold it together pretty good. I mean, for what it is, they do a good job passing off the torch.
They've got to have some kind of like lore keepers.
I guess. That was Game World. Honestly, that was Gateworld for Stargate. Yeah. You go to because that's what they would like. They'd be like, "Wait a second," and then they would cross reference it from there. And Star Trek, don't Star Trek have like a whole bunch of people to do the same stuff as well?
Yeah,
I started watching the Orville the other day, which everyone kept saying, "Watch Orville, watch Orville." So I've started watching it.
Oh yeah.
I
remember the first few episodes were pretty cool.
Really? I hate the first few episodes, but I'm going to stick with it because I've heard it gets better, and I can.
It gets way better. Orville, I almost gave up on it too after like the first 4 episodes. I was like, man, everybody feels really awkward. The characters feel forced, and
oh my god, that first scene when he catches his wife in bed with the freaking blue thing, and I'm like, oh, you got like seriously, like I feel like 10-year-old could have come up with that.
Yeah, well, well, be prepared. There is a lot more 10-year-old comedy throughout it, but it does actually get to the point where, I mean, there was an episode that, it tugged at the heartstrings a little. There was an episode that, they handle some pretty heavy-hitting issues later on, too.
Well, and I kind of like the whole idea of like,
but they do a good job in season 2 of like handling like some really heavy-hitting issues, but putting them in a comedic frame of reference. So kind of like how
the
George
time
Carlin
dilation field, throwing the seed in the time dilation field, and then like, they're where they destroy the whatever the.
I actually thought that was hilarious that they just.
I liked it because it was just like it was kind of fun and whimsical, and so far so good. I mean, he's one of those guys who I love and hate. Like I like some of his stuff, and he just gets a bit smarmy for me sometimes. But he's just so freaking brilliant.
Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah,
he's
just so
he's
just a freaking genius. So I
mean, the dude, how many times how many times has he hit the bullseye? Right. I mean, the guy more often than not
every episode of Family Guy.
And the funny thing is, everything he does ends up getting canceled, and then it just becomes more famous.
Yeah, right.
It's literally like the high, or no, it's like Obi-Wan, right? You strike it down, and it just becomes more powerful.
Yeah, it will become even more powerful if you cancel.
Yeah, no, that's what I feel. That's what I feel like it is. It's like everything he makes, he does a season. Everybody's like, "Oh, well, I never," and then they get it canceled, and then everybody's like, "Oh, why were they well, I never in?" like I want to see what's going on over there. It's like one of the greatest stories ever is Married with Children. Did you ever watch that sitcom back in the day?
I watched it for a bit. I mean, it was one of those I would catch once in a while, but I never like sought it out.
It could never exist today. In today's climate, PC climate, no way could it ever exist. I mean, the entire show premise is a dad that hates his wife and hates his family, and his wife hates him, but they all stay together because they don't have any other choice.
Right.
But the funny thing is, like, despite all that, it's like they only get to make fun of each other. If anybody outside of the family messes with them, then it's on. They all come together like they're in sync and fight.
That's kind of how it rolls, isn't it? Isn't that generally how it is?
Right.
But I mean, I can mock and deride my sisters, but if God help anyone
exactly somebody else does it, no, it's like, no, that's my sister.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about the show is it almost failed, and the only reason that it survived was because somebody was triggered.
Oh, really?
It's actually a great story. So Married with Children, they created the pilot, and they created a couple of episodes. They ran them. I think it was back in the day. It was on Fox. And what happened was this lady in like Michigan sent in letters like complaining about how shrewd the show was, and she was really, really mad about how a man on the show was like dressed in like S&M. And like the first episode, there's a guy like and they're doing all kinds of inappropriate stuff. So she was really offended. So she started a letter writing campaign, started getting other people involved. The studio got inundated. They lost their sponsors. So all their sponsors pulled out because they were also writing the letters to the sponsors saying, don't run your commercials on, shows that are this bad. Like, I mean, it's literally like the climate today, but imagine that back in the 80s being done with snail mail, right? So, but here's what's great about
network.
Yeah, she went, this lady, and she's fessed up to it too. But what had happened was she started getting booked on all the TV shows back then, like Sally Jesse Raphael and Oprah, and anyway, she's on all these shows way back in the day, like in the 80s. Whoever the big shots were talking about how this show doesn't belong on TV and it's grotesque, and nobody needs to see that. And what happened was the
marketing just flying her around.
Yeah. The Streisand effect fully kicked in. Everybody's like, what's Married with Children? Because it got really bad Nielsen ratings because nobody knew it was on. It was like 9 p.m. at night on a work night. So nobody was watching it. And so she literally like syndicated the show by doing this. She walked around and everybody's like, I want to see what all the fuss is about. Like, if people are so mad that every news network's running this, I want to see what it's about. And
wasn't that South Park
the show got it.
Wasn't there like a Christmas video? There's like a VHS of South Park with like Jesus battling.
Yeah, it's Jesus battling Santa Claus.
Santa Claus, right? So and that was everyone was like so shocked.
Yeah, and it was literally a YouTube video that was uploaded as a gag that was never supposed to be a show.
Yeah,
it was just a gag video that was uploaded to YouTube, and it went hyper viral, and because of that, they got offers. So,
but again, I always go back to the fact that like those sort of things happen. But you got to have the talent to back it up. Like if you, if you're like, if you then go like, if you then just like screw it up, then it's going, no, they were very, very smart. Although I hated Book of Mormon, I got to say.
Oh, you didn't like the play? Really?
Oh my God, I hated it.
Oh,
I felt so ripped off. I was like, what? Well, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. Like it was just so obvious. Like it, it felt like it was just so easy to mock.
Huh. Well, I mean, it kind of is.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about you, but it was fucking expensive.
Oh, I didn't pay. I wouldn't have paid to go to a play. That's not my style.
We paid a freaking fortune for it. We like for these it's the must see. Everyone in LA, la la la. We going to go.
No, I wouldn't say that it's like I'd pay like the same price I'd pay to go see a movie. It wasn't like it was like earth shattering or break, but I found it entertaining.
But we were like, literally, it was like $100 and something a ticket, and I'm like, it's a freaking high school play.
And
Like,
what made me laugh
it's like a high school play with
it,
lots of poop jokes.
I don't know if they did this where you watched it, but here in Seattle, the playbill that they hand you when you walk in or whatever, the back of it was rented by the Church of Mormon because they booked advertising space for the play, and the Mormons like actually put their advertisement to recruit, like, you know, join the Mormon Church today or whatever. And it was a real ad that the Mormon Church paid for.
You think this is funny? Wait till you get to the real thing.
I just thought it was funny because it's like kind of clever. It's like, oh, these people are like calling us out and mocking us, so people are going to be interested. If nothing else, they're going to be interested in thinking about it. So here, let's put a number on the back and see what happens. You know?
Yeah,
it's kind of a good idea if you think it's a little brilliant marketing.
It's actually quite forward thinking of them.
Yeah. I will say this though, it's definitely the same type of like brain dead humor. Like beating the dead horse. Like I do get that. Like it wasn't anything like earth breaking. I didn't learn anything.
If it wasn't pitched to me as like this big event, and I took my wife and we spent a lot of money to go, and
the hype,
it's in a big theater in LA, and then I was like, holy fuck, these guys just ripped us off. I was like, it feels like they're like, oh, remember that play we wrote in high school? Just put that one on.
Here's what I'm interested in: did all the same people do it, or was it different production companies in different places, or was it one traveling production company?
Usually different people. I mean, sometimes they do the traveling thing, but in Canada, usually, well, no, we're not in Canada.
Because that can make a huge difference, like who's actually performing it.
Oh God, yeah,
like that makes a massive difference. Right? Because you can read the words, but
Hamilton. Do you ever see Hamilton?
I haven't seen Hamilton.
I saw the movie on Disney. Right.
I still haven't seen it, but everybody says it's amazing. Like the performance is amazing.
It's worth seeing. Like you got to be in the mood for sure. Like as soon as people start singing, I'm like, okay, that's off.
About the only play I've seen on TV, I think, is like Jesus Christ Superstar. I think I saw that. And that was about it.
Jesus Christ Superstar. Yeah. I used to love that, man.
Dude, it caters to ADHD people. It really does. Like if you have ADHD, watch that, man. It is all over the place. It feels like a Cirque du Soleil production.
That'd be like the one musical on. I could do. It's like the one, not as Jesus, obviously, but like I could totally do Pontius Pilate or oh my God, no, the best one was who's the guy? Oh, so you're the great Jesus Christ, that kind of fat guy.
Yeah.
And he had all the women hanging around, and he's like by the pool, and he's like, prove to me that you're no fool. Walk across my swimming pool. Like it was just that great.
It's over the top. It's definitely like if you're going into it thinking that you're just getting like Sunday Bible study.
Oh
stuff,
no. And then he dies on the cross and it ends.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, hey, it's like, what is it? Art mimics.
No, that's it. I mean, I remember hating it because my dad had this weird rule that if you didn't go to church on Sunday, well, first off, we had to go to church on Sunday every day. Every Sunday, and then he sort of he relaxed a bit and said, "Okay, but if you're not going to church, you have to watch Jesus Christ Superstar." It's like the most subversive kind of, so
rude.
I remember lots of discussions about Judas. I was like, well, wait a second. If Judas was supposed to betray him, why the hell? Why is he going to hell? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin it for you, but there are a lot of contradictions.
There's a few things. Yeah,
a couple here and there.
But just remember, any of the contradictions can instantly be fixed with the word faith. You just say faith, and it's all good. It all
Jerry, you just got to believe.
That's it. You just got to believe, man.
Yeah,
you just got to believe. What is it? Is it Peter Pan?
Yeah,
is that what it is? Like they keep Peter Pan young and to keep Neverland. Like you got to believe.
That is one way to make someone hate church and musicals. Yeah, no, I hated musicals. I've always hated musicals. Like I liked.
There's a few good musicals out there.
A couple, yeah.
I loved Oklahoma. I saw Oklahoma because I was forced to, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The production that I watched was amazing, though, and I was literally sitting in the box right above the stage.
Okay,
that's so nice. Yeah, I liked it.
I liked Moulin Rouge, but again, these are films.
Oh, yeah, that's a great.
Moulin Rouge is fantastic.
One of my favorites.
And I knew all the songs, and it was sexy, and the other one I liked was I quite like. I don't know why. I think just because my dad made me watch it. I like Jesus Christ Superstar, but
I like Chicago. The film I would like. I would see it. I would go see Chicago if it were on stage.
I saw Cats when it was on stage.
Wow.
I've seen Cats, but it was always like the crappy production that the school paid to come to the school and perform. Like back when I was in grade school.
Low rent Cats.
Yeah. Basically, they would pay a local production company to come in and put on Cats.
Oh, look, we've hired a bunch of local drug addicts to put on a performance of Cats.
They're all running around with like just track marks up and down their arms and stuff. Line.
When we were on the set of Stargate, I'd always crack Jewel up by by like launching into my magical Mr. Mistopheles, because I was like, they're like, so what do you think you're gonna do after the show? And I'm like, I'm going to Broadway. Like, eventually we're all gonna be like wheeled on stage, like, and the stars of Stargate do cats.
Hey, Dangerous Brian said, "What about the Rocky Horror Picture Show?" I love Rocky Horror Picture
Great movie.
Show. That is
great movie. Yeah.
Again, the subversive ones I love.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like. Oh, go ahead.
Well, South Park.
Repo, the genetic opera.
Oh, how was that? Was it good?
I have not seen that.
It's great. I would love to see that on stage too. The movie, the old one. You got to watch the old one. It's musical. Because they kind of remade it with Jude Law. It's just called Repo
it's the
Man
same
or
story?
something like that. Basically the same story, but no music, and it's like actiony, like how they kind of redid Total Recall. Same kind of time period. Yeah, but man, the old one, great flick. Great, it's super freaking cool.
Check that out because that's
When you read the name, I was like, that sounds like something Jude Law would do.
It's popped up a few times.
It's pretty neat. I highly recommend it.
I actually, have you ever seen any of the Cirque du Soleil stuff?
Oh sure.
Oh, I love that's the only way Jane gets me to the theater.
Dude, we went to Zumanity.
Have
you ever seen that one?
Great. Yeah.
But is that like musical kind? Though
not
to me,
really.
That's more like an
performance
show.
art, right?
Yeah, it's like a.
You're waiting for someone to fall.
Kind of. I mean. It's like NASCAR.
No, but Humanity was so over the top. Like when I went in there, my expectations were like, okay, it's an adult review, right? So you're probably going to see some boobs or something. But oh my God, I was not prepared for the stuff that was happening in that show. And I was just giggling like a little schoolgirl through the whole thing. Like
maybe I haven't seen that.
They're great.
So they literally had a guy. I don't know if they do this at all the Zumanities, but I don't know if they
Did you see this in Vegas?
Yeah, this is in Vegas, and at the actual Cirque du Soleil theater in the MGM or whatever, where they have like the moving platforms and stuff that can do all that stuff. So we're watching Zumanity, and like at the beginning of the show, before it even starts, well, all the lights are in the room, people are still sitting down. A dude in a full latex gimp suit, head to toe, with like a 12-inch like floppy wang, like a fake one, like hanging up was running on the back of the chairs, back and forth along the aisles, just messing with people.
Wow.
And like he was walking up and he'd be like swinging at your face, like, come on, grab it. He wouldn't say it. He'd just do the actions. Then if he didn't, he'd move on. But he was doing cartwheels on the back of the seats. He'd jump down, like off of the like mezzanine up on top, like down to the bottom, and run across the stairs down on the bottom, and then climb back up on the wall up on the top. And just watching this dude just sprinting back and forth along the back of people's chairs while they're sitting down in them. And not tripping. Cool. Like this guy was like doing cartwheels and stuff like on the, the thin little backs of like the chairs, right? And I was just like completely floored. And this was the pre-show while they were setting up the stage to basically draw your attention away. So like, they're getting set up and they're getting ready to start the show because they want to surprise you. Like when the show starts, it's like boom, and you're like, whoa, what the hell happened? And Gimp dude just disappears. But I was like, when I saw that, I was like, what the hell just happened?
This is the show for me.
Yeah, I was like, where do I sign up? You guys need a fat guy? Come on. But no, that was a wild ride. If you ever get a chance to see that one, just know that they do push the limits pretty hard.
I just looked over. There's the most massive centipede hanging from the top of my wall there.
Well, go get it and show it to us. Bring it
not
over.
Not anywhere freaking near it. What part of I don't just play a coward on televion doesn't make sense to you?
It's not that I've been typecast. It's just I play me on TV.
It's freaking ridiculous. Well, if I turn the camera on, you might be able to see it from here.
It's that big.
Look at it. The corner.
I can see it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's right there.
That's freaking huge.
It's a bug.
I can hear it chewing.
Would you guys go see Avatar: The Way of the Water? I probably won't see it in theater. Nah.
I don't.
No, I'm not gonna. I probably won't ever see a movie in the theater again.
It just looks like a headache, and I can almost do the music already. Like I just.
I know it'll be pretty cool, and I'll watch it. But I'm not gonna.
I shouldn't say that. I'll probably go and see it, but I don't know. I'm just kind of sick of the big movies, honestly. I know, which sounds like just such a lame thing to say.
I just prefer watching movies at home. It's like
me too.
That's the
I watched Dune at home and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Dune.
I'm sure it would have been amazing in the theater, but
yeah.
But my room,
Dune
the
movie
vibrates
me off where it ended, though. Like beautiful cinematography. I like the story, a little slow pacing, but not as bad as the original.
It was abrupt, but I think that was the right spot to end it for a part 2.
They weren't even greenlit for part 2 when they did that. It's like that was
they
a
knew.
huge risk.
Nah, they knew. There's no way they would have. Yeah, there's no way they would not have made a part 2.
I mean, the special effects definitely were like the cool sell. Like watching that thing, it's like you felt like there was a real battle going on. Like it didn't feel CGI.
Yeah, I feel like this could be a trilogy.
Oh God, I would
think so. Yeah, because with how slow paced the first one was, he still has to. So like they're just about to meet like the whole clan. So spoilers if you haven't seen Dune or read the book, you've had 75 years or something to read the book. So
yeah, catch it
up. So they're just about to first like meet the tribe or whatever kind of, and
which kind of makes sense.
And it's like this is when they're going to start learning the weirding way and all that stuff. Or he's teaching them all how to shout into the box and all that stuff. So like, and then there's going to have to be the big battle at the end where they kick the Hardokins out and he becomes the Kwisatz Haderach and all that stuff. Because like his sister hasn't been born yet. Like that's got to happen.
Yep.
Well, actually, we don't even know. I think that Jessica is with child.
I mean, but this is it. I mean, like I feel like I thought it was kind of I thought it was actually weird that they stopped it where they did. I would have thought they could have taken more time with the whole preamble stuff because there's so much stuff going on there.
Yeah,
that's quite happy to know more. Nothing got tied up even remotely. Like it was just okay. Let's do the first half of a movie. Like no tie-ups, no satisfaction. Get you completely hard, and then just be like, okay, leave.
I thought it was very abrupt though. When it just cut, I was like.
I was not expecting that. I was like, oh, wait, what is this a joke? Like,
I think they did it on purpose. I think that's exactly why they did it, though. Was exactly that. It was the whole movie was build up and then to leave you wanting more.
Yeah. And my wife was actually in the room. And when it ended, I literally like said, what the fuck? Like,
I did too. I did too.
I was like, mad. You can't end it there.
I did that with James Bond, though, too. I was like,
oh,
whatever. Yeah. I was like,
yeah.
Yeah,
I hate it when TV shows do it, but I hate it even more with movies because you have to wait like a whole nother like 2 years.
Yes, that's my thing. Is I don't want to wait. I feel like they've gone back to this releasing an episode a week thing on all the streamers.
That's bugging
I'm like,
me.
No, I don't want that.
Me.
Yeah, just give me.
I'm like, no, fuck you. I'm waiting. I'm going to wait till they're all out and I'll watch them later.
Yeah,
let me watch it on my time.
It's true. Dune was a tease. That's a good way of
putting it. You know what? Actually,
I'm not going to kill the bug. I'm not going to kill the bug. I don't kill the bug.
Don't kill the bug.
I don't. I'm not going to.
It's probably eating other bugs.
It's eating lots of other bugs. Yeah. It's just that if they crawl, I've gone to sandals finally. It's like I've got my flip flops on.
You got the chocolates.
I got them. Yeah, I don't want them crawling across my toes.
That's the thing. Like I'm cool with like spiders and stuff, man. You hang out in the corner or whatever, fine.
But like your thing.
If the girls or my ladies like, oh, it's in the shower, or like we can't occupy too close a space. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, my wife's rule is like if you're in the house, you're fair game.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Hey, Renegade, I want to thank you for the $5 super chat, dude.
$5?
$5?
That's it. That's it. No, I'm just kidding.
We're worth.
I'm totally just goofing.
He said McKay is one of the dumbest characters on Stargate. I can't believe that show didn't get canceled.
He spelled it Mackie.
I'm just kidding. That's not what he said. He's probably freaking out right now. He said
no, I didn't
McKay is one of my favorite characters. He's one of my favorite characters, and David is a funny person.
The McKay fans turning on you.
Bam.
No.
That's for McKay hate.
It's so wonderful. They'll like step in, and I wouldn't even be offended about some stuff, and people were just like, no, you did not.
Your fans are almost as hardcore as Elon Musk fans. Almost.
Although I mentioned a connection between, I mentioned like I made the mistake of saying that I thought that maybe that Elon Musk would be kind of an interesting sort of other parallel world McKay. People did not like that at all.
Wow.
I was like, they just seemed right to me because he's got that kind of Asperger's kind of,
Yeah, but the difference is McKay is actually intelligent.
Well, there's that.
Burn! Oh my god, dude!
Don't you think he's smart though? Like he is smart. Yeah.
But like when I'm giving him shit, and I give him infinite shit on Twitter, and I've been giving him infinite shit over.
Yeah, you were at him this week.
I'm going at him like full tilt. Yeah. After I've been going back and doing some research, and I'm like, my god, I can't believe I used to worship this dude.
What about 5% of Twitter? Only 5% of Twitter is
no. Here's what pisses me off about that. Here, let me rant on this for a minute, okay? So, do you really think Elon Musk, a guy who is, let's see, how many companies does he have? He has the two successful ones, right? So he has SpaceX and he has Tesla, and they kind of float each other through good times and bad times. Boring Company, fail. Neuralink, fail. Autopilot on his Tesla. Neuralink still hasn't been put in a human, haven't been put in a human trial. All they got is a pig doing shit that you can already do if you just put a regular brain interface on it for $300.
Wow, okay.
So
we did that last week. That's right. We talked about
it's like, okay, yeah, they implanted it and they stuck some electrodes into its brain to make it like higher resolution, but it's not doing any of the things he promised, like at all. So, and the people that were the chief people working on the project realized that and left, and he had to bring in new people. So really? It's not going where it's supposed to go. Could it at some point? Sure. He's the king of just getting round 17,000 of funding for a failing thing until the horse is beaten so to dead that you finally just win by trying over and over again. But he has all these failing projects. Here's the thing, though. When he said he was going to buy Twitter, okay, do you really think he didn't do any research on a platform that he's buying for $40 billion?
Yeah, right.
Of course he did research. And he has his own bot network on Twitter that he's been using for a long time. And it's pretty damn obvious. When he first came onto the platform, about 50% of his following for like the first month was just bots piling on that had one follower, him. They weren't even clever bots. If you go through his following list, like I just did the other day, I was just going down and just randomly clicking on a person, like every page. And look at the thing. I could not believe how many bots I found that were like, all they did was follow Elon Musk. That's it. They weren't doing no other interactions on the platform, just following Elon Musk and boosting his posts. That's it.
I got to get me some bots.
Yeah, I mean, that's what people do, unfortunately. So bots are used.
I'll write my own bot. It's like just Python. It can't be that hard.
No, I looked into buying followers because there was at one point I was at one point there was like I'd go into auditions and they'd ask me how many followers I had and I'd be like, well, how many do you want me to have? And but seriously, it's like it doesn't make any sense. It's like it's like in the early days, the internet.
Here's an example right now.
Clout. Remember Clout.com with the K? It's like some sort of social rating.
Yeah. So I mean, the upshot was there was no point in there's no point in buying them because at some point someone's going to write a bot that will go in and expose all the people who've bought bots, right?
Bots,
yeah.
Well,
So guys, check out chat right now. So you got this Inside of the Ages guy, right? So I'm scrolling up. I'm like, it's like Elon is the GOAT. I worked with Elon. He is the GOAT. Free speech for the win. Bots have more rights than I do.
Oh, come on.
It's like, but Elon uses bots. Well, when I said that, he's like, this is misinformation. It's like, no, I can stand behind exactly what I just said.
You can't say freedom. You can't say freedom. Freedom of speech. And then say that,
but I can also prove that Elon has over 1,000 wallets on Doge that he just freely trades coins between using bots. Humans cannot transact at the speed these things are. Anytime the market drops on Doge, even a little bit, his bot network just starts chucking money back and forth to create fake volume.
And good for him. I mean,
good for him. He has the volume to do it, right? So,
but this is the fear: is that I feel like these billionaires are treating the world like a game to be hacked.
100%, 100%. Like not even thinking about the consequences to anybody.
And I would totally do the same if I could. So,
fair point.
If I was smart enough and I had the money, I would totally do the same thing. So.
The thing I don't like though is how much he takes advantage of his followers. Like terribly takes advantage of them. Like when he's like, "Oh, guys, I'm going to back away from the Twitter deal, because I need to see how many bots are on the platform." First of all, he knows how many bots are on the platform. He already did that assay a long time ago,
right?
That's why he was even talking about it. He's like, first thing I do when I take over the platform is I'm going to kill all the bots. Like he knows they're a problem. He knows that there is a crap load of them. He never said that it was nowhere in the agreement was it contingent on 5%. The reason that he made that tweet on that day was because Tesla was falling really close to dropping below the 40% value line. Ooh. And if it drops below 40%,
for his margins, right?
It's a margin call.
That's right.
He has to pay off all of his loans for his stock, and he doesn't have the money to do that.
It's so like 12 and a half
how does that up his Tesla?
Something like that.
What's that?
How does that up his Tesla stocks?
No, he would have lost a bunch of them.
No, but so why the tweet?
How does his actions? So the reason that Tesla crashed was because he spent so much stock to buy Twitter. Like he's been flushing stock. So he dropped it 10%. That triggered another sell-off that took it down another 15%.
I got you.
But it was getting close to the line. So he's like, if I let the investors know through a tweet, if I let them know that I'm backing off on Twitter right now, like there's going to be some time, I'm relaxing.
Being responsible.
Then people will be like, okay, well, that sounds like he's trying to get out of the deal. Let's go jump back on Tesla because it's gonna go back up again because it always does. This is what Elon says. Say something stupid that makes Tesla crash after he sells a whole bunch of it, and then come back and say something else and make it go back up. He does this
called stock manipulation. Yeah.
So he got really close to that 40% mark, and that's why it just came out of the blue. Like, why is the hell is this happening? Like on a Friday, like he already made the offer. The offer was already accepted. He's already looked at the data. They're already giving him key access to like things that he's thinking about changing. The board already know that their days are numbered. Like this is a done deal, and all of a sudden he's like, I don't have enough money to buy Twitter, because if I buy Twitter, I'm going to get a margin call on Tesla, and that's going to ruin me. So he's like, instead, I'm just going to tweet, okay, well, if I say that I'm not buying Twitter, then everybody's going to call me a liar. But if I let Tesla crash, I'm going to lose all my money, and then everybody's going to call me a liar on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk out the side of my mouth and say, I'm still interested in Twitter. Don't worry, guys. I'm committed, even though I'm not, but I'm committed. Hey, Tesla guys, I know you guys got mad at me for selling stock to buy Twitter when I said I wouldn't. He literally did say that he would never sell Tesla stock for anything other than going to Mars. That's it. So he's been lying a lot lately, and people are starting to put it together because he's doing it closer and closer together. Like,
is it lying or is it marketing? I mean,
it's straight up lying, because granted, from his position, it's marketing, but it's straight up lying. Like he lied about every step of the Twitter deal. Every step. He literally came in, he bought 9% of Twitter without 9 billion in Twitter. And it was either 9 billion, was it 9%? I want to say it was like 9%.
Yeah, it was
the
like,
highest percentage holder.
Yeah.
And so he bought that. He didn't report it properly because he knew reporting it would have meant that he'd have to pay more for the stock. People would know he was doing it. So they would have came in and started buying up stock, which would have boosted the price out from underneath him. So he didn't. So he knows he has to report. The dude's entire wealth is based on stock manipulation. So it's all paper value. It's not real value.
Well, the Doge stuff drives me crazy. The way he just throws Doge in every so often and makes a freaking fortune.
Exactly. But
hey man, can you start talking about it again? Because I'm down like 60% on Doge, and it's kind of
exactly. Like, hey,
I bought like $10.
I
bought like $10 worth a while back, and now it's like worth $3 now, and I'm like kind of bummed about it. I'm like,
how is this any different from the other market influence? He is exposing how ridiculous the Matrix has become.
Bitcoin could come back soon too. That'd be really nice.
Because he's literally breaking the law, and the fines that they give him aren't big enough to matter. So yeah, I guess you could say he's exposing holes in the system. I mean, that's fair, but that's not why he's doing it. My point is,
I just like Ox trying to drive up
come on.
He's not quite the Elon. It's Ox, you're like the Elon Musk of tech.
Doge to the moon.
I think it's funny. So okay, the dude's entire wealth is based on building electric cars and rockets that are reusable. It isn't though. It isn't. His wealth is those companies aren't even. Tesla is profitable. SpaceX is not.
Yeah.
Most of SpaceX not yet. It will be though.
Yeah. Because to be fair,
money comes from market manipulation. Like, the value of Tesla is nowhere near what its value is. Like, it is so overvalued.
It's super overvalued.
But that's besides the point. Isn't it worth more than like all the other established car companies?
All together. Every car company, like in the United States, all combined, they don't come close to the stock price. So it's
weaponized greed.
It really is. But this, I think, to their point, the other person about, this is any other market influence. Yeah, it's that the whole manipulating the market to pump and dump and stuff, that's super illegal. The SEC has already slapped him a couple times for it, and like Jerry said, it's not the fine isn't worth a damn. But like SpaceX is still in kind of a research and development stage. They've gotten like I feel like SpaceX is going to be the best like company to get us off the planet. They're totally going to colonize Mars. We're probably going to see a weird like pseudo indentured servitude sort of thing for colonists and stuff. People are taking one-way tickets, selling all their stuff. They'll probably, be SpaceX employees for 10 years and then they get a plot of land and stuff. We're going to totally see the same sort of colonization like move that happened in North America. I bet you it'll be interesting. Part of me feels like it's kind of cool, but also like societally suck, but whatever.
Yeah. The cult of Elon is a powerful thing,
that's the weird thing though, is because like, man, there's a lot of Tesla's falling apart. I feel like they're not keeping up the way that they ought to, and there's so many better options for electric vehicles now. Like, I'm so stoked that all these car companies really caught up really fast.
Yeah, the F-150 is baller, dude. Have you seen the
Ford
F-150?
I ran it by Jane. I was like, the only thing I would really like truck wise that I'd ever think of would probably be the 150 Lightning. She's like, never gonna happen.
Ha.
Yeah. She's like, how are you gonna park that in Toronto? I was like,
he's reinvesting in himself. That's where his wealth comes from. Sure. Well, no, so that's like, that's where I got distracted. There's like the net worth thing, right? Like, Jeff Bezos is the most valuable, blah, 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 100 and some of $billion or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not liquid. That's not cash, right? Like, that's not. It's net worth, yes, but a lot of that is tied up in like the value of Amazon stock or whatever else he's invested in. The thing is that makes these people super wealthy and have the leverage that they do. And I started looking into this. It's actually really interesting stuff. So like the margin calls that Elon has in order to pay for the Twitter thing, that he's borrowing money against the value of his stock holdings, whatever, his asset holdings in brokerage accounts. Like Jerry said, if the value of that drops too far, he owes that money back. That's like $12.5 billion that he should be liquid for. Like he's got to be able to, or he sells his stock off to pay for it. But that's how all these big rich folk like do that.
Yeah.
They have enough in investments that they then borrow it either on margin. There's other ways of doing it too, but on margin or there's like 3 major ways that they do it. And it's still a loan, like you get to pay it back or whatever, but like you end up paying it back because of the investment that you use that money for. Like it returns enough to pay the loan, and you can just keep rinse and repeating that because your value doesn't ever go down.
So your value goes down.
Well,
until it crashes, and
that's money.
That's
the thing too. He makes everybody believe that he's spending this money. Like, look, I'm making so much money, I can do anything.
No, it's
he
all.
wouldn't even buy Twitter.
It's all loans and stuff.
Like he got 30 billion on Twitter, then another 7 billion from Saudi, even though he was just ripping on the Saudis owning any Twitter.
Right.
Like the previous week, he was shitting all over saying, "Oh, what are the Saudis?"
It's hard to talk about free speech and then bring Saudi Arabia.
And then he brings in like the Saudi prince to buy like $7 billion of the stake. Yeah. And so when he's all done between the borrowed assets and everything, not a single dollar of his assets or his net worth will go towards buying Twitter. Like his net worth will not reduce at all, because everything is going to be borrowed.
Yeah.
And that's what he does, because he knows a way to create liquid. If he creates liquidity, he
spend their money anyways, though, wouldn't they? I mean, the reality is that if you've got that much money, it's better to borrow. It costs you nothing.
No, I'm not saying it's not what anybody would do in that situation. Absolutely. I'm just saying he presents it as that, though. Like he doesn't present it as, I'm bringing the investors together. No, he used to when he talked about Tesla and stuff, but now he's like, I'm buying Twitter, and everybody's like, a single man bought Twitter. And it's like, no, it's no different than a hedge fund buying it. The only difference is he's doing it with loans so that he can assume still full control.
Yeah.
Well, the liability falls on the investors mostly.
I just don't understand this cult of personality stuff.
It's
like people have become like rock stars or something, I guess, and you can say no evil about
personal
them
branding.
I mean,
it's all it's a new way of marketing, but taken to a big extreme. It's because nobody trusts brands anymore, right? Not really. You see it all the time. I mean, outside of a very few like special cases like Wendy's and things like that, but like the brand, people don't trust those faceless companies. People want to see the head honcho talking about what they do and how they do it and why they do it and all that stuff. That's why Steve Jobs was so successful. Like people loved Steve Jobs, and they bought into why Apple was doing what they were doing as presented by Steve Jobs. And I feel like it's a similar sort of thing. All the stuff that Elon's doing and done and whatnot is all great stuff. Wants to get human beings off the planet. You start this cool electric vehicle company. Really, honest to goodness, sparked like a huge push into this industry. And
undoubtedly,
that's great. He appled the electric vehicle.
The space. He amplified space. He amplified electric vehicles. And
space, I gotta say, I'm a little bit
and stuff.
I love his space stuff, except I this space tourism thing drives me freaking nuts. Like I know it's probably necessary, but
I see
something about
so
fat
many
cats in space just drives me.
See so many parallels to the colonization of North America.
Yeah,
you'd have these rich businessmen who would fund these boats to go across and find stuff, whether it was king. In a big way, or a merchant baron sort of thing, and it's very similar. At first, it has to be commercial, right? So we're sending, we're tying in with the government to send boxes and crates and people up to the space station, things like that. It'll be commercial first. Everybody's going to build. There'll be some construction company who wants to get in on all this stuff. There'll be a space hotel, stuff like that. And it'll be rich folk probably for a long time. You'll have a few. Oh man, I've spent my whole life to go do this, and I'm 55, and like, woo, I get to go spend 30 minutes in space. But like, it will eventually become much more common. And he appled cars is the most stupid analogy. You missed the whole part about electric vehicles.
Oh damn!
But
I appled cars.
Because as your profile picture seems to imply, you're probably old enough to remember when Chevrolet came out with an electric vehicle in the early 90s. and scrapped the whole project because
I'm curious to know
gas was like 97 cents a gallon.
Yep.
Jim, what was the problem with that?
Sorry.
What was it? You don't know, because I guess.
But it did the electric vehicle thing, because there had been other companies who have done electric vehicles. The smart car came out before Tesla. BMW had like their IQ thing that looked weird.
Toyota been selling Prius for years.
So, but they were looked at and they were goofy. They were jokes.
Yeah.
They were jokes.
Yeah.
He amplified it. There were cell phones. There were before the iPhone and stuff. But there were smartphones. Look at Palm and BlackBerry and stuff.
I had every single one of them.
Mainstream.
I could not wait for everything to be available in my palm.
Dude, look at the General Motors EV1. Right?
Yeah, 1996. That's another example.
It was a car that was leased. They never sold one because they were afraid that if it took off, that it would challenge gasoline, and they did. They leased out all the cars. They recovered all of them and destroyed them because they all had long lives. People who had them loved them. This was the OG Tesla.
I think it was a good analogy.
It was a good analogy. It was an accurate analogy. It's just the cult of Elon is the cult of Elon, man. They got a rage and boner for this guy.
That wasn't an insult. It's not an insult to say he appled the. I mean, my point was he made it.
Did a good job. He's just he
made it not scary to
great
people.
Marketing,
who were
great
not
industrial
bleeding
design.
edge.
Here's what I think.
People buying cars before were bleeding edge or hippies, and all of a sudden, Elon Musk made it sexy to have freaking.
Yeah.
I think where people go wrong is if you want to idolize Elon, idolize him like you would Billy Mays. He is the world's greatest pitch man,
marketer.
And he's a marketer, and he's amazing at rounding up investment and getting people excited about an idea. But that's where it ends. Like his and he'll say anything to do it. That's the thing too, is like the thing that I get the most, because this used to draw me in too. Don't make no mistake. The reason why I'm pissed off is because I used to be a huge fan of Elon Musk. Like I literally fangirl. Oh yeah, dude. I wore like as many as like 2 years ago, rocking SpaceX shirts and Tesla shirts and walking around and wishing I had a Tesla. I got reviews of Tesla P85D Ludicrous Edition all over my YouTube channel. No, I absolutely loved Elon Musk, thinking he was this visionary because that's what he presents himself as. But then you go back and you start looking at all the shit that he says, and you're like, this is why he is the Elizabeth Holmes only successful from Theranos. Like he's Theranos. He can literally pitch a product that doesn't exist, that he doesn't even know if it's possible. He doesn't even know if he can make it, and he'll pitch it like it's the easiest, simplest thing. Why isn't everybody doing this? And everybody's like, oh my God, he's a visionary. Give him money, and then he'll just abandon it and move on to the next thing. And after he gets all the free press, abandons it, moves on to the next thing. Gets all the free press, abandons it, moves on to the next thing. So everybody's like, oh, Elon, he doesn't buy commercials. He doesn't need to because he just lies.
Oh yeah.
And he just lies about everything.
It's working out.
Yeah, that's the thing is because he has the two successful companies, he can lie about everything else to get another round of capital into any of the other companies. So
I would argue though that's Silicon Valley's approach to everything.
Oh yeah, that's the whole. We're in that whole Facebook, like
they don't get the audience.
VC, venture capital, startup. Everybody wants to invest in the unicorn, and then what's your exit strategy? Nobody wants to try and build a company like that lasts. It's about the funding stages. How much can you get your startup valued at before you sell it off to Google and run away?
Well, he's like that guy. I didn't see the documentary, but the WeWork guy who was
same kind of thing,
where he was sort of more personality over profit.
It's funny. Elon Musk is not lying. That's
a good way of putting it. Elon's a great front man, but the other band members are writing the music. 100%.
100%.
Like none of this is to like say that Elon is not a smart guy. Like he was successful. He did good things, PayPal and things like that beforehand. Made good money off of
PayPal.
ideas.
I gotta say, PayPal's freaking genius. I think
it's definitely. I mean,
people
for
think
all
he's
the
for the
for all the
environment.
good or
He
bad,
absolutely is not for the environment.
He is good at what he's doing.
Yeah. You can't be for the environment if you think the world is a simulation.
No, but here's the thing.
There's no way around.
So I got this a lot yesterday as this weeby good guy in chat. It's like Elon is not lying. I can prove it. I can actually prove with Elon himself that he's lying.
Yeah.
Like, which one do you want to know? I've got like 100 of them. Like when he said that his hole digging company, the Boring Company, how did he put it on the map? Selling rebranded flamethrowers that he even admits are just brush burners with an injection molded plastic thing on them that they pay almost nothing for. And he's like, well, and people buy them. Like, remember the Joe Rogan podcast?
The tequila?
Yeah, people just buy them. Tequila. And then he's like, oh, I have a good idea. He goes on a show and just riffing. He's like, oh, you know what we could do? We could take the dirt from these tunnels and we can make bricks out of it. And then we're going to give these bricks to build homeless shelters and low income housing. And people are like, yeah, good guy Elon, good guy Elon.
Never happened.
He made the bricks. You know what he did with them? He sold them for $200 to influencers to make YouTube videos so that he'd go viral across the entire internet saying Elon's going to build homeless shelters and he's going to build low-income housing. Not a single brick he made ever made it into a single structure that wasn't paid for or from a rich person. Go look. Not a single one. He'll never talk about it again today, even though he got all the press. Like, it was in the international news for like 6 months. Like, Elon's going to solve homelessness. These bricks are going to build low-income housing. Then he comes out and he's like, you know what? I'll give $8 billion to the UN if they can solve world hunger. And so they came back with a plan. They said, here's a plan, and we can do it for $6.6 billion. It's not, obviously, you know, Elon, that you can't solve world hunger. It's not a solvable problem. What you can do is alleviate it and fix the majority of the problems so that it greatly reduces the stress. And they're like, $6.6 billion. He's like, nope, not going to give you the money. I'll go buy Twitter for $40 billion. That's fine. Right? But I'm not going to give you something that helps fight world hunger. Every single time he's gone on TV and he's like, oh yeah, Tesla solar roofs are going to solve the power problem and we won't need power plants anymore. And the power is going to go around. It's like, but it would be cool. He doesn't understand the complexity of the grid. The product delivered is shoddy and doesn't fucking work right and costs like twice as much and produces half as much as promised. But nobody calls him out on any of it. They're just like, but dude is a genius. He puts solar. But
this is the Trump thing. This is the Trump thing. Like, look how many people are talking about it.
Right.
Like every freaking podcast I ever listened to has some. Like, they need like a Musk section.
They do,
you know, because it's like every week there's something that which I guess is part of the genius of it. I mean,
I feel like he mocks his audience though, and that's where I really that pisses me off when scammers do that. When they're like, "Oh, look at me, I'm so rich, haha! You wish you could do what I do." It's like the robot thing. That was totally like, because Boston Dynamics was huge.
Yeah, Boston Dynamics.
They were trending all over the world with their Atlas robot, like doing all the crazy dance moves and stuff. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to dress a guy in a suit. This is going to be hilarious. And we're going to say, oh, next year we're going to have Tesla robotics.
What
we're
the
going to have a robot.
Was that? That was the weirdest thing.
It was the dumbest thing ever, but it jumped Tesla stock like crazy.
You know what it reminded me of?
Tesla's going to make a robot.
It reminded me of the hilarious House of Frankenstein. Did you ever see that?
I haven't seen that. No.
Oh God, it was this terrible kid show. And it looked like a bad 1970s effect. Like it was just, I couldn't get over it.
Fun.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you really look at Elon, and the thing that kind of like got me to really start thinking was he doesn't do anything to help anybody else unless he gets back tenfold what he puts in. Like even charity to him is an investment. Like he will not do anything unless he gets back tenfold of whatever goes out.
But that's my frustration is that I go like,
what do they call it? They don't pay taxes. Capitalism or something, or capital-anthropy or something. It's like where you take capitalism out of philanthropy.
The idea that you don't pay the taxes, so you've got the disposable income to throw around and make yourself look good. It becomes like more of a marketing tool than it does, you know. Again, I don't want to belittle the fact that if they're going to give money to good causes, great. I don't give a fuck how they get there, as long as it gets to the people who needs it. But the idea that like, oh, I'm going to put 10 million into everyone else, it's like, ooh, 10 million. But to a guy who can borrow, 50 in a weekend is just
the reason I worry about it though is for the same reason I worry about Omaze and some of these other scam charitable contributions is when you do a charity drive and you take 1% of the revenue and give it to the charity and keep the other 99%, that's 99% that could have found its way to that charity directly from those people who wanted to be charitable and thought they were being charitable. No, I understand that marketing gets stuff in front of people. I totally understand how that machine works. So then that's exactly why Elon wants to buy social media, because if you control public perception, you will never want a day in your life. If you can control the public perception, you will be the richest man alive and nobody will ever be able to compete with you. And that's why owning a social network is going to be the future goal. Like I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Bezos isn't trying to get Reddit or something. Like every one of them is going to need a social network.
Bezos seems different though. Bezos is in a different, like I feel like Bezos he was snapping up old newspapers and stuff. Right?
Yeah.
But he feels like he's not, like I feel like he's just sort of, I feel like he's stepping out. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like
he's a little unplugged.
He's about to go Gates, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which again, Bill Gates was a freaking asshole.
Huge asshole. I've met him in life. Yeah. He's a total dick.
Absolutely. I was a huge Microsoft fan for years. I read books, Microsurfs, and all these Copeland did these books here. And like, I loved the whole culture of this. Like you went in, you got stocks, you got that was so exciting to me. But the reality was these people were the same as Musk. They overpromised. They whined. They complained. They came from money in the first place anyways. I mean, it's this whole self-built person is just fucking bullshit. But at the same time, I wanted to believe it. It was exciting to me. But now now he's matured. Now he's older. Now he's come up with this now he actually wants to do something that will last, and that involves saving people. And I'm total. You know what? There's a great Beastie Boys quote that says, "I'd rather be a hypocrite than never change."
Huh?
You know,
sure.
That's so totally fair. I'm of the same mind. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like I've definitely changed my mind about a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? A lot of people have changed my mind about a lot of things, and I used to call them hippies and tell them to brush their hair. Now look at me.
Hey,
I just get tired.
Yeah, I'm looking at you, Ox.
Me? What?
I'm kidding.
I don't like scammers. That's just I'll TLDR to that. I don't like scammers, and I was hurt to see that somebody I idolized who genuinely thought was like this brilliant engineer, and he's just another fame and money whore that loves and gets off on manipulating the law and the SEC and controlling markets. He's an attention whore. He's an actor. He's an attention whore, and exactly. Yeah. Well, that's fair. Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Yeah, but it just drives me nuts that he still tries to present as like he cares about the environment and he cares. But you go and look, and it's like, no, he absolutely does not. Like one of the things that really pissed me off and kind of got me looking into this was when he said he was taking Bitcoin for Tesla. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I'm going to take Bitcoin for Tesla. Yeah. And as soon as Bitcoin started crashing, he cancels it like immediately, like no warning or anything, cuts it off. Yep. You can't buy cars with Bitcoin anymore. And he's like, oh, the reason why is because I found out that mining cryptocurrency uses fossil fuels, and that's not environmentally friendly. And I didn't think that was a good image for Tesla. So we went ahead and stopped doing that. Yet he kept buying Bitcoin. He bought Bitcoin.
You buy Bitcoin, and then you say you're going to take Bitcoin for your big freaking vehicle. Of course, it's going to go up. That's manipulation. It's like pump and dump.
Yeah, because he basically said if Tesla says that they're getting Bitcoin, then Bitcoin is going to go up. If Tesla pulls out immediately, people are going to panic and sell their Bitcoin. That dropped the value of it significantly, even though it was already on its way down. And then he comes in and buys it up because he created a dip. And then once he buys it up, he doesn't take it back. He's like, oh, because of environmental concerns, because now he's realized it's just too unstable for them to risk a profit on that. But he lies to the public and he's like, oh, I did it because of the environment. But it's like, dude, you own more Doge than anybody else on the planet. And that is arguably one of the most useless currencies there is, that is mined every day with the same GPUs that mine Bitcoin, but with the same GPUs that are mining everything else. Yeah. So I don't get why he's like, oh, we're not going to take that coin, even though the mining is an act of verification on the blockchain, which means every coin he owns, and he's literally transacting millions of times back and forth on the Doge network to create that market saturation. All that shit he's doing is generating way more mining than was ever happening just to produce the coins.
Assuming we can look it up, right? I mean, assuming because it's a transparent system, we should be able to go in and see exactly. Although he's got accounts that are shadow accounts.
Yeah, but my friend wrote an algorithm that basically found one of his wallets based on a Twitter post, and then went and looked at every interaction with that wallet with every other wallet, and found all the circular relationships where it's like he sent coin to wallet A sent to wallet B went to D went to F, and then full circle back into his wallet or one of the other wallets, and he was able to net it together, and it was 1,000 accounts that did nothing but just transact to each other. So that's and it was random numbers too, like seemingly random transactions. So, but what that does is that makes the network look like people are selling currency back and forth, like at huge volume. And if people see huge volume, that means stability. Like if people are constant, if sells and buys are happening at similar rates, that's stability. So his bot network responds to that. If people do a mass sell-off, like with this crypto crash where it took it down to 8 cents, what does he do? He comes to the market, starts buying it up. His algorithm just starts buying it up and breaking.
Well, him and all the apes. I mean, they're all doing that, right? I mean,
it's just like, my God, it's like this is just scam after scam after scam. People are like, oh, but yeah, it's like, he can do that. He can legally do that because there's not that much oversight over crypto. But the thing is, he presents as the person not doing that. Right. What he's saying to his fans is one thing, and then he's doing another every single time, every promise. Even like did you see what he said about Hyperloop? Because people were like, hey guys, Hyperloop's dead, right? It's been out in the desert.
Flood. What? The whole tunnels can't flood, is immune to weather thing was great.
God, yeah. Tunnels. He literally said that. Yeah, the brilliant engineer of the world's like, oh dummy, tunnels can't flood. Like hurricanes can't flood tunnels; they're underground. And he was being serious. And so, because he was trying to say that, like, oh, if they put the Hyperloop underground or something like that, it's going to be immune to any natural disaster. And it's like, it's not going to be immune to earthquakes. It's not going to be immune to a lot of things. Thermal expansion, sinkholes. It's like there's a lot of things it's not going to be immune to. But the thing is, he actually tweeted out that, hey guys, the first Hyperloop, fully working Hyperloop, is going to be online next year, even though they haven't even got this rusty pipe in the desert online to even hold a vacuum for 24 hours. And he tweeted that out because the thing is, there was a lot of bad press going around about Hyperloop and how this idea is seemingly not going to happen. And Virgin was like not really progressing the idea. So he's like, ooh, if I come out and say, ooh, I'm getting back involved, guys, and I'm going to make this happen. Everybody's like, yeah, Musk, give him $1 trillion. He'll do it. You know, and it's like, but he just keeps recycling this stuff. He uses the same formula every time. It's like, hey, guys, I can solve the world's energy crisis with just a huge solar array out in the desert somewhere. And it's like, but what about when sun's not on that side of the planet? What about, yeah, exactly. Do it. You have the money to.
That's what bugged me about I saw this thing on TikTok about, oh, this is what I think Elon's going to do with Twitter and this and that. Oh, he's going to remove all the bots. And how? Oh, he's going to make sure everybody's authenticated and like a real human being. How?
They've tried that. They've tried the authentication thing. Yeah.
Like, okay.
And you've got 10 users.
Great. Now give me the 1 minute pitch of how you think that's going to work. Like, you think Twitter just lets this happen because like there's a balance to be maintained, you know? It's like, whoa, they even had that thing. Oh, we tried this AI thing to automatically ban Nazis, and it started kicking out a bunch of Republican senators and stuff. It's like, oops. So we can't really do like automatic moderation because people can, you know, it's fuzzy.
Eventually, I think we will
all the way.
Eventually,
you have to have humans do that stuff, and eventually, sure, but it has to be trained.
Everyone always laughs at it at first,
and then the training the models though is going to reflect the people who train the models. So like, there's always inherent bias to some extent, especially when it comes to these sort of lower level moderation tools. Like, it's going to reflect the people that you hired to sit next to the AI and train it. This is a bad tweet. This is not a bad tweet. And you know,
and look how people, I mean, just look at like the online streamers and stuff, the way they've come up with whole lingo to get around
unaliving and things like that.
Demonetize them. I mean,
100%. TikTok's
my kid talks in a language now that is entirely based on just not getting banned.
Yeah. I mean, or shadow banned, or your stuff reduced to by automatic moderation. Yeah.
Someone said a little bit back that they were like, you know, it was that how Microsoft or Bill Gates stole DOS, and I have to say the biggest crime I think was Xerox. Yeah, how Xerox 100%. Got ripped off by both Mac and Windows with their whole graphic.
Everybody ripped off poor Xerox. They're like the
poor Xerox. Like they had it. They literally launched that system and it was just ripped off by people who then became. You know, like Apple becomes like this closed garden where it's like, we got to protect our IPs. Why? Because they've already ripped them off. Yeah. Microsoft, the same thing. I just find that, you know, I mean, DOS, yes. I mean, I don't know the deal on DOS. I remember having, I grew up with Digital Research DOS. That was
I just think it's crazy that a man sold a $20,000 upgrade to a car for like 6 or 7 years. And then said, sorry, you have to meet very specific guidelines to use this alpha for autopilot. And you have to pay more attention. And you have to assume any responsibility if we decide to steer in and run over children. Like, even if we do it too fast for you to respond, it doesn't matter. You assume responsibility. Okay, fine. So half the people don't get it paid for it. The ones that do have to be like hyper aware and they're pissing off. And if you watch any video on autopilot, everybody in the city where they're driving around, people are honking at them and shit. Lane keep, that's fine. Radar and lane keep and changing lanes, like every car does that now. So it's like not even a fancy thing.
Man, I gotta say that's super cool. I set up that stuff on the Hyundai, my Ioniq 5 thing. Not sponsored, but holy cow, you practically don't have to.
Yeah, the lane keep,
it didn't complain.
It's such a difference. It's like we're borrowing my mom's car right now because she's away. Yeah, and
so cool. So cool.
The idea that you don't have to sit there worrying about how close you are to the person in front of you during the traffic
keeps me one car length away all the time.
Every time you go anywhere,
love it.
It's amazing. Yeah,
yeah. I can pick 1, 2, or 3 car lengths away, and if they like I can set an upper limit. Like I want to go 75 miles an hour, but the guy ahead of me, if he's only doing 68, that's how fast I go. It'll keep that space. It keeps me in the lanes. It'll steer. It steers.
What I don't care. That's the great thing is I don't care. I'm not in a hurry. It's like get there.
I love it.
So autopilot still isn't real though. Like you still have to babysit it.
I'm happy.
No, on the highway. But I'm saying every car, that's a really simple algorithm. All you have to say is if something's in front of you, maintain this distance. If you're getting too close, brake. If you're
they all do that. All the cars do that.
Yeah, that's an easy problem to buy a car that doesn't. Not to toot my own horn, but I could even write the algorithm in a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm shocked it took this long. I'm shocked it took this long to get this to where it is.
Yeah, but here's the problem.
We could have had this in 2005. Come on.
I mean,
and we've already seen Autopilot fail. Like remember when the fucking like beams fell off the back of the truck and the car just like fully went into it, or when the car T-boned at like 70 miles an hour, a semi that was across both lanes.
Oh, what was the deal with that one that drove through the building? They've got the footage of this Tesla just take like at 70 miles an hour coming through like a Coliseum or something.
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen that one. Holy cow.
Oh my God, it's insane. Like that thing is, it's so.
When you bought the upgrade to the car, which originally was included, then it was $5,000, $10,000. Now it's $20,000 for the upgrade, and you have to do it. They won't add it after the fact. So you got to commit to it when you buy the car. You're not going to bring it back, and they're not going to put the sensors on it. So it's dumb. But you pay the $20,000. He said that you would have Autopilot. Was it 3 years ago? It would be fully released, and we'd be good to go. And before that, it would already be an alpha years before that. Here we are, 2022, right? And we still have this alpha Autopilot that's wrecking into shit that very few people even have. And the ones that do are scared to death to use it. Watch the YouTube videos. It's pretty bad.
I got to run for a couple of minutes.
No problem. Whenever you got to dump, dude, just hit the button.
No, I'm coming back. I just got to do a couple things and then I'll.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So anyways, this is the thing I don't get. He's like, okay, this AI is like next level and it's going to solve all these problems and it's going to drive better than a human does. It's nowhere even close. The thing is, even summon doesn't work. Summoning your car, it's like, you saw that, right? Where the car just runs into an airplane.
Yeah.
And it hits the airplane. So it registers a collision, yet the software says keep driving through it. Like, how do you make a mistake like that? Like that's software that's released. That's not even the alpha. Like summon is like a released feature. And it doesn't know not to crash into a giant airplane in front of it that's visible on almost every sensor on the car.
Yep.
And because their software just didn't know how to handle that. It's like, oh, are we driving under a bridge? Like, oh, is that landing gear? Oh, that's probably not landing gear. That's probably just a glitch. Let's just drive through. Oh, we physically hit something. Okay, keep going. Push harder. Maybe the brakes have rust on them or something. It was just like, dude, if that was a person, it would have just mowed him down. It would have just mowed him down and killed him. So the thing is, and then what does Tesla say when the guy contacts him? Oh, it's your fault. It's your fault. We don't support summoning on an airport. Well, then why did the car respond to the summon? Like why when he pushed the button, he should have said no. Sorry, we don't allow summon in the fucking like parking lot of an airport or whatever on the tarmac. It's just shit like that bothers me because it's like he's made so much money because at $20,000 per car, every car he sells that he gets that extra $20,000, and that's not enough. Now there's a monthly fee. Now, in order, you have to pay the $20,000 and you have to pay a monthly fee to use Autopilot. And if you don't pay that monthly fee, it gets disabled. So now you have a car that you have to not only buy that, and the same thing with Starlink. He's like, oh, Starlink, yeah, we're gonna have the whole network online last year. Still not there. I mean, he's getting there, but still not there. He's like, the whole network's gonna be online. You're gonna get speeds of up to what do you say, like 250 megabit or something like that, or nowhere close. Like not even within 50%. Super amounts of jitter. The ping's all over the fucking place. It drops and comes online constantly. But I mean, it's still a good option for some people. It really is. But what does he do? He's like, we made the dish $100 cheaper. He's like, guys, and we're gonna make the dish $100 cheaper, and we're gonna lower the cost, and it's gonna get cheaper. What does it do? It goes the other direction. He tweets out, oh, we're just going to raise the price of the dish that's cheaper. This is the cheaper dish now. We're going to raise it $100 over the cost of the old dish that was way more expensive to manufacture. And they're going to start upping the rates on the monthly service. I've been talking to some people that work there, and they said, yeah, monthly services are going to creep up too. And he's like, and he'll just be like, oh, it's because of COVID, or it's because of this, or it's because of like some problem. But it's like, dude, you said you weren't going to do that. Like you assure everybody it's going to be cheap, and it never is.
Yeah.
Remember the Model S? The Model S was supposed to be $35,000. Remember the Model 3 is supposed to be 25,000. Oh no, the Model 3 is 25 starting. He said the Model 3 base model was going to be 25,000, and the well-equipped one was going to be like 35 to 40. Find one person that got a Model 3 for under 40 grand.
Oh, right.
It doesn't exist. It's vaporware. So he says this stuff because it gets the press, right? Everybody's like, oh my God, no other manufacturer can come even close to that. Well, it turns out neither can he. He just knows that if he says that, people are going to put down their deposits and people are going to camp it.
Yeah.
It just, I get it. Rich people do rich people things at the end of the day, but it just sucks that our system is like set up to basically feed that mechanism. You know, my biggest fear, honestly, is if he buys Twitter, which I still think he's going to try to, but you know, again, if it doesn't financially make sense, even after signing the paperwork, he'll just walk away and give them their $1 billion. But if he buys Twitter, my biggest fear is he's going to bring back old orange Trumpelstiltskin.
Yeah.
And no, but here's the thing that worries me is he's going to bring him back, and then he's going to owe him a favor because Trump needs Twitter. Like Trump really needs Twitter to win the election. Like that is the key to him winning an election is Twitter. So if he comes back to Twitter and Elon gives it to him, Elon's going to want something in return. And you know what that's going to be is Elon's going to put him back in office in 2024 and ask for a lot of favors, a lot of executive orders. And I am super worried about that aspect. Like more than just bringing Trump back. Like if you want to bring Trump back and have him just mouth off on social media, whatever, I can block him. That's no big deal. What I'm talking about is the reach that you're going to hand him and your ability to drive those people into positions of power to aid you. And that's what scares me. And that's been happening forever, right? That's not just an Elon thing. That's lobbying. Right. Damn. I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably illegal as crap if you're caught actually doing it like that. But it's still lobbying. It's like you're using your money and you're using your weight and your force to ensure that you get what you want at the expense of everybody else.
Right.
And Trump said he'll stay on truth, and you believed him?
Yeah, we'll see.
I will bet anybody right now, the second he is unbanned, that day he will tweet. Huh. I bet you Trump already has the tweet typed. Yeah, like there's no it's literally going to be like oh my God, we're back. We can't be silenced. Elon is our savior for, being a champion of free speech. And then everything's going to be Elon for a while. Like Elon cares about free speech and he brought back our platform. And then Truth Social is just going to be crickets chirping. Well, it already is, but it'll be even more crickets chirping. That's why I laughed when Trump's like, nope, I'm staying on truth, because the only reason Trump said that is because he didn't think he was going to actually buy Twitter and didn't think he'd actually unban him. But as soon as Elon said he was going to unban him, he's like, no statement. And before that, he was like, oh, even if he does unban me, I'm coming back to Twitter, which is what Elon was responding to. And Elon wants to tap into that because what happens if you let Trump back on the platform? Numbers. Analytics go through the roof because Trump had like 80 million accounts following him. A lot of those people left when Trump wasn't there because they were only following him and only interacting with him. As soon as that account comes back online, you're going to see a massive analytics spike across the board on Twitter. And if he goes private and does that and then IPOs with the company having that many more users and that much more activity, regardless of what that activity is, that's going to look pretty damn good. But it'll be illusionary, Hey, David Corbett, thank you for the subscribe, man. I appreciate it. Oh, I also wanted to thank I Am Me. I Am Me 40 minutes ago. He tipped $20.34.
Sure, thanks, man.
He said, no, Batman. He said, oh, crap, wrong show.
Oops.
Let's see here. Gaming, Maddie Rocks, maybe the $2 super chat said, would you guys go see Avatar Way of the Water? Oh, you guys answered that one earlier. Me, I don't want to go to a theater. Yeah, I just don't want to go to a theater. Like, theaters creep me out now because I haven't been there in a long time. I'm just not used to it anymore. But I'm definitely gonna watch it at home. Like, how can you not? It's Avatar. Like, at a certain point, you just have to watch something because of who produced it, and
like if I could get free tickets to see it in IMAX, I think that'd probably be pretty sick. But
okay,
I don't know. Exception. I don't want to pay that for myself. I'm not that hyped for it. I don't care that much.
To do what?
Like I saw Endgame. I saw Endgame at IMAX. Like this was awesome.
That'd be awesome.
There are certain events. Like I want to see the new Doctor Strange in the theater, but if it doesn't work out, like fine, I can wait.
What is the word on that? I haven't heard much about it.
I don't know, mixed, I suppose. Is the little bit that I've rubbed up on social media about it.
Wait, what?
The temperature, right? Like, is it cool? Is it not cool?
I love Sam Raimi. I like his stuff is usually pretty wild and crazy.
Yeah.
Well, wait, which movie are we talking about now?
The new Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah, no, I heard that it really pushes the envelope of the PG-13 rating they got.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah, I haven't seen it personally. Did you see it, Aux? Or
no, I want to.
The reviews are in. It's fine. That's not usually a good sign.
Yeah.
Really? I've been watching. Everything I've seen has been the opposite. People are like, "Oh my god, it's absolutely amazing!" Like,
really?
Nailed this. Right. I mean, I've seen very little criticism of it, honestly.
Really? Oh, I don't. Yeah. I've not heard anything. I was surprised at how little I've heard. That's why I was,
It looks like it's really fast paced, like even more so than a normal Marvel movie. So, and I like that. Like my ADHD loves that. Like if it's flashing lights through the entire thing.
No, if I'm going to a movie theater to see one of these movies, I don't want to see him talking. Right. Fuck character development.
What was that movie? You guys will know this. What was that movie? They used to play it on airplanes, which I always found absolutely hilarious because of the content matter. But it was a movie about war, and there was like very little dialogue in it. It was just like a continuous scene of like a kid, like a soldier who'd just come of age or whatever, and joined the military, like in World War II, and the camera's following him, and like one continuous shot through the whole movie, like broken up a couple times.
1918.
Yeah, 19 something. Yeah, I watched it. I watched it. I was like, this is cool. Like, I watched the whole thing hanging on, sitting on the edge of my seat, and tons of jump scares and shit like that. And I was like,
tricky really cool. I guess cinematography.
Beautifully done.
Yeah,
because it's shot to look like one really long take. Like there's no jump cuts. There's no weird.
It's amazing, and it's just through the whole thing. It's fast paced. There's very little slowdown.
It's very good editing,
which is extraordinary.
Really cool
given
swipe transitions and stuff that you don't notice and things like that. Yeah,
and
really cool.
Was insane what they did, what they managed to make work is amazing. So.
But it's weird because you watch it and it's all over so fast, and you're like, wow, that was, and it's a decently long movie, but you're like, wow, that went by really fast. And then you realize that there was like maybe 100 words said in the whole movie.
Wow. Well, because film is supposed to be visual. Someone's not supposed to walk in every 10 minutes and explain what's happening, which is what happens in all movies now.
I hate that. They explain so much of things. It's like, dude, you did not need to say that. Are we children? Like, is this what we're doing now? Is that we can't just make assumptions on our own?
It ruins it for me.
It's lazy writing as well.
Yeah,
it's like
show, don't tell, right? Like, I know you don't have. Yeah, so there are times.
We talked about Jojo Rabbit last weekend.
But
yeah, Jojo Rabbit's awesome.
I mean, that's a great example of like there were certain things they didn't show, they just explained, and it was brilliant because of that. I mean, but yeah, no, there's an art to it, and I feel sometimes when you can show everything, that's why I sort of worry about Avatar and those movies. Is like I mean, Baz and I watched Avatar many times because as a kid he was the right age. He just it was like a little grown up for him, and he it was like we could do that. And but at the same time it's just so in your face. It's like, yeah, oh my god, yeah, it's amazing. But after a while it's like, but the story is Fern Gully. I mean, like I don't remember that? Do you ever see that comparison? That was like Disney's Fern Gully compared to So I don't know what the new one's like, so I'm not sure.
I don't know. I just don't like a movie where it's like the person walks into frame and it's like they're just holding an item. Like all of a sudden, like they're just holding an item, and then they'll do like a flashback that's like them using that item to like kill somebody, and it's like they're walking into a room and there's like nobody in the room, and you're like, well, they're holding the thing, so they're gonna kill somebody, right? It's like they're like setting. It's almost like they're spoiling.
We become very savvy. Like I think the way we watch films now, like we know, like the curtain is being pulled back, and everyone understands how films are made now to a large extent, and I think that there's still a lot of people who are still making films as if that hasn't happened.
Yeah, you know what one of my all-time favorite movies is? It's like super underrated. A lot of people haven't seen Memento.
Oh
I do need to see that. I do need to.
That.
Yeah, you'll have to watch it 3 times to fully get it. Like if you think you get it all the way through on the first time, no, go back and watch it. There's all these
funny things if
little
you
things
recut
that
it
happen.
If you just recut it and then put it in sequence, it's actually not that complicated a movie.
No. Somebody actually did it. Somebody on YouTube did it. I don't know if it's still up. Yeah, they went through and they cut it in chronological order from back to front.
It's really it's a pretty basic story. I mean,
it is. It's so. But I loved it because it is an amazing experience, guys.
Oh, it's
but Memento, when you watch it, the one thing that you'll be so lost in certain scenes, then you'll think you'll have it. Like you'll think, but you don't. You don't have it, and it'll lead you down so many false roads where you're like, I see what's going on. Oh, that guy's bad. Oh, that guy's evil. Oh, that guy did. Oh no, this makes perfect sense. Oh my god, she did that, and you're like, and then at the very end when it wraps, it brings it all together, and you're like, oh shit, like
it's clever. Yeah, I
really clever, really clever writing.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Christopher Nolan. I gotta say, like but at the same time, like I watched Batman.
Yeah,
was it Batman Begins or whatever it is?
I like Christopher Nolan's Batman. I actually think that's one of the better Batmans.
Yeah, so did I. But it doesn't age very well. Like you see it again now. Like I watched The Batman?
Yeah,
I am justice or whatever the hell. No, I am vengeance.
Surprisingly, I wasn't that impressed.
I haven't seen it yet.
I liked it. I thought it was beautiful. It was like dark and moody, but it's also like an hour too fucking long.
Yeah, if you don't have an HDR TV, you don't even bother. Like you have to wear night vision goggles.
It's so dark. It is super dark. Yeah. But the music I had it playing in the background.
I got to be careful with the music.
Forgot to pay attention.
Sorry, was that off?
It didn't come through on this side.
I knew it was like 3 hours long. I put it on another screen while I was doing some other stuff, and like I completely it might as well have not even been on. Like I have no idea about anything that was. I'd look up and be like, "What the fuck's going on?"
I did that with the Snyder cut.
There's Zoe. What's her face? And okay, now I'm back. Oh, I liked the Snyder cut. I actually watched that, and I want to watch it again because I feel like I missed parts.
Whatever.
I thought it weird that it was in 4:3. I thought
that bothered
what's up with
me.
This? I was like, why did I get the wrong copy or something? Like, what's going on?
I feel like I'm missing. I feel like I got ripped off somehow. I was like,
hey,
where's the rest of it?
Weird. It was weird.
I like the
Dunkirk was highly disappointing. No, I disagree. There's not. I don't agree with Jim L on anything. I'm afraid. Because I like Dunkirk.
I haven't seen Dunkirk either.
I thought Dunkirk was good.
Yeah, I kind of like
especially the sound. The sound design on Dunkirk is crazy. Yeah.
Morbius. I'm not gonna even care about Morbius. Honestly,
I saw like Moist Critical do a review on it, and I was
uninterested.
I can't. Moist Critical just did the best review.
Why Morbius?
And it was just I couldn't. Yeah.
Of all the characters that Sony could have picked in the Spider-Man like tangential universe, why Morbius? That's super weird.
No, he's cool.
Super weird. I'd have much rather seen a Kraven the Hunter like prequel movie or something before they introduce him into fight, Spider-Man or something like that.
Yeah.
Someone who's more directly attached to Spider-Man.
I'm surprised that Moon Knight has got my attention.
I loved it.
I binge watched it.
I really like the transition thing that they did early on, where it was like, and then he's like, "Oh, dude, I just killed all these guys." Super cool way of presenting that to the viewer. I thought that was super great. Yes,
it was just really fun. I mean, unfortunately, as always, like I said, Mighty Morphing Power Rangers, but
which I've seen this mentioned in other places, but it's like, man, the people of MCU Earth must be so burnt out. Like they blipped half of everyone away for 5 years, blip everybody back. Now, like within a couple months of that happening, we know who Spider-Man is. Oh no, just kidding. We forget who Spider-Man is. Spoilers.
Capital City destroyed.
Bad. Yeah, man, like a bunch of crushing stuff, and then the sky like warps backwards 3,000 years in one night. We see giant people like fighting. Like what?
Yeah, did we
just go on with your business? It's not even exciting
gets
anymore.
Picked up into orbit and then dropped, and almost destroys the entire planet, but they just narrowly save it.
Yeah, like all of these.
It is weird how that we're worried about that. Though. Like we're worried about what if it breaks? What if it breaks the timeline? It's like, yeah, I mean, there's also some issues with. All of the science, but
hey, I like the whole multiverse thing. It's super tight. I'm super
it's
stoked.
Like it's a possible way that the universe works that allows us to have multiple universes. Like
so cool.
Stargate just was like great. Let's go.
Man, I think it'll be super cool. It'll open up more shows or like limited series. Like I could see them doing just one-offs where this is 6 episodes and that's it. Or like mini series sort of thing where they just explain some cool thing that happened in the background of one of the movies or something, or it ties to it, but isn't like super critical.
Yeah.
Like I would love to see more of, I guess
it's like a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern thing where it's like what's happening behind the scenes while the actual action is happening.
I would love to see more of that, like in between movies in the next 10 years or so. Like, while you wait for the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie, here's what they were up to after this one, kind of a thing. Just a limited series or something.
I loved it in Spider-Man. They had what's his face? Oh my God, who's the blind superhero?
Daredevil. That was
Daredevil.
So smart.
Daredevil shows up in that. Yeah. That was lovely. We started watching Daredevil again recently.
It's so good.
It's really
so good. That show is great.
The fight sequences in that. You want to talk about great shots? Oh my God, there's that great. There's like I think it's like episode 2 or 3 where they have this fight in this hallway. And it goes down the hallway, and they all fight this way, and then it comes back out this way.
Around the corner, and they're fighting.
And Baz and I like going over, going like, "Where did they cut? Where did they cut? They must have cut somewhere." Oh, look, there's a wipe. Maybe that was the wipe. Maybe
I love it. Great. Those hallway fights are so cool, and I love the camera work so much. Yeah, he's great. Super.
And Rosanna, what was her name? Rosanna with Dawson. What's her name?
Rosario Dawson. Yeah,
I mean, she can just do anything.
I love that she shows up in the other shows too. Yeah. Super cool too. It's a great nerd, right? It's a great connection to the audience. And
Marvel does good with crossovers though. Like Marvel does a really good job like throwing people between the series and then bringing them all together in like Avengers and then having them all do their spin-off TV shows to prep for the next movies.
I'm just worried about Disney. I'm worried that they're all going to become the same. Like I'm just like I know that I feel like there's been some neat stuff happening with Marvel, some odd takes on stuff, but I worry about the hand of the mouse or the paw of the mouse, that there's going to be like a, because I watched there was a documentary I really liked called Biggest Little Farm. Do you ever see this? It was like this cool. It's like a cool little documentary about this family that moves out to like California, middle of nowhere, and basically gets this grove and rebuilds it as a farm. It's like a boring documentary for old people like me. But then Disney bought it, and now it's like this again. It's like it just became all these shots of golden sunlight and cute pigs doing things, and I was like, that's not really the point of the movie. It's like, I don't know.
I feel like it's the same problem as video games, where it's like the graphics start to take over the story. Yeah, like they start to mold the story around the graphics because they're like, "Ooh, we got a new shiny effect that we can do. Oh my god, this looks amazing. This will sell our movie.
We need to up the production value."
Yeah, and
just tell me a good story. I don't care what it looks like.
Yeah, it's like back in the day. It's like we used to play like what is it, like Trade Wars 2020 with like little ASCII characters like, moving around in DOS mode, 80 character mode, and it's like a really you got your stats, and it was fun. It was just a really
well. Look at teenagers now. They're playing like they're happy to play Minecraft because they've got they like the mechanics, they like the freedom.
Yeah, but when games get really graphically complex, it makes it exceedingly difficult to give them that sandbox.
Although like Baz was watching, he's been playing Arkham Asylum as well. He's been kind of obsessed.
Oh, nice. Yeah, GTA 5 is a good example of like a sandbox game, obviously done right.
Yeah,
he's playing
because
Forenza
even after
now.
All these years, people are still playing it. What's that?
He's playing Forenza or Forza or whatever it's called.
Forza.
Forza. Oh, I love Forza. If Baz ever wants to get his ass handed to him, I'm not actually that good of a driver.
Sure. He's like, Mom, what's your favorite car? She's like, BMW M something or other. I don't know anything about cars. I know nothing about cars, but I know I got to go because I got to I got to go do this Dial the Gate thing at 3. So I should probably like log in a little early just so they're not freaking out.
Yeah. Also tell them to add my channel in the dashboard is able to raid them or whatever it's called.
Or just shoot us a link. We'll throw it up in the chat and stuff.
Yeah, they have to. You definitely put the link in chat. But if they can add me to that list, like in settings in their dashboard, that basically says that I'm allowed to host their channel or whatever, then I'll be able to do it. All right.
So he needs to add you. I see. Otherwise, you can't do the.
Let me see if I can find the dashboard. It'll tell. Yeah. So in the dashboard, it says here. Let me open it.
I like dashboard better.
Dashboard, man. I've been misspeaking a lot lately. It's called redirect. It says redirects allow you to keep viewers engaged across multiple events. Add a live stream or premiere here for people to watch after yours ends. And then when I try to add it, it says that they have to enable me as somebody who can do that on their channel.
Okay.
So somewhere it's under the community tab.
Here. Okay, good.
Yeah, under community, they got to add my channel, Barnacules 1. And then if they do that, then I'll be able to add them.
Okay. All right. Done. Lads, chat. I'm glad we didn't get a chance to get to any of the topics.
Hey, that's actually
one thing I'll throw in about the food thing is that I read about recently that I love the idea of. It's the idea of these lab grown meats that are cooked basically cooked up in the basement of these restaurants. So you'd have you'd go to a different restaurant, you get a different type or approach to lab grown proteins.
Cool.
That'd be neat.
Oh, hey, we'll continue that conversation.
Yummy, yummy. I'm out of here.
All right, take it easy, boss.
All right. Lots of love. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
It's always fun hanging out with the Rodney McKay dog, huh?
It's so cool. I forget.
Man,
what's super neat is that I kind of forget that he's a celebrity.
Oh, I do too. Like when we're doing it, it's
super rad.
We're just used to being around all the time.
I'll go to talk about the streams and stuff, like with my lady or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember. Oh, that's right. My buddy used to play on an insanely popular TV show. It's ridiculous. It's right up there with Star Trek popular. Oh shit.
What's weird is I'll put on a show. Because he's done so many cameos and shows. I'll put on a show and he'll just pop up in the show and it'll shock my brain and I'll be like, whoa, that's my co-host.
I watched oh crap. It's called AI or something like that. He was in, or I think he directed it. Jason Momoa plays the computer on this ship who's gone crazy and that kind of thing. And then because of that, I start getting other stuff that he's credited in one way or another on Amazon and stuff. I'm like, what? Oh, and then I'll remember. Oh yeah, he's talked about that show in the past. Or oh, don't go look at that. I'm embarrassed kind of thing. It's so much funny.
Yeah, it was like Cube. Cube came up on YouTube and was recommended to me as free. It's Cube is now available.
Debug. That's what it was called. Sorry.
Oh, I'll have to go see that one.
Jack pointed it out to me. It was called Debug.
I haven't seen it. It's called Debug. Here, let me add that to my little notepad.
Yeah.
Debug.
It should be free on Prime. Or it was at the time. I watched it on Amazon Prime.
We'll have to check that out. Yeah, I know Cube was recommended to me and I pulled it up and I forgot David was in it. And so Cube starts and I'm like, oh, it's David in his underwear.
That's so rad.
For an entire movie. It's he's running around in his whitey tighties being David. I thought that was pretty funny.
I was to also be famous. Yeah, that's it. I agree. Krillin. Yep.
Wait, what now? What did Krillin say?
Oh, he says David's just a guy that happens to also be famous.
That's true.
He's just a cool dude.
That's true. He is just completely down to earth, Yeah, so he wanted to talk about this this Bon Appetit article he sent me. I don't know, did you see the article in the chat? I can post it in the chat if you want.
I'll bring up the tweeter.
Sorry. How many people yawned? Yawning is contagious, remember? Here it is.
Yeah.
Boneappletits.com.
There we go, thank you, sir.
That's what I always say when somebody says Bon Appetit. I'm like, Bon Apple Tits? What? Let's see. So avocados might cost $20 a pop. Okay, that's not a good way to start an article.
Yeah.
What dinner will look like in the next 100 years? Okay, well, I suppose in 100 years, yeah, an avocado would be $20. All right, so let's see here. So let's see here. Morgane Gay sweeps a hand over her blonde faux hawk and smiles at me through oversized purple-tinted glasses. If she doesn't look the part or the self-proclaimed food futurologist, I don't know who does. The future, she tells me in her rapid-fire British accent, is all about air protein. Air protein, okay. A product that uses high-tech fermentation to turn carbon dioxide into chicken or whatever you want. It's basically a replicator. Really, tens of millions of dollars are being invested into alternative proteins, and air just might be one of the key things feeding the world and feeding the world's 9.8 billion people by 2050. It says there's nearly 2 billion more people than we fail to feed today, and an overwhelming amount of that growth, the UN predicts, will be sub-Sahara Africa, where desert conditions make farming a challenge. Then there's this pesky issue of climate change. If the planet warms 2.7 degrees by 2040, as experts projected, the implications could be devastating. Ongoing droughts, flooding, extreme weather, it's all on the table. What may not be on the table, California avocados predicted to go extinct by 2050. I didn't actually know that. That's crazy. Sense. Hey, thank you for the $20 super chat. He said, just because I can and I want. We appreciate it, man.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, that's awesome.
You guys decide if we eat or not. It's you got a lot of power, actually. It says the good news is the food industry is already planning for those pressures. As Amanda Little investigates in a revolutionary book, The Fate of Food, I don't know that there will be a future in which we're all looking at a plate of wafers injected with specialized nutrients. God, I hope we don't go that way. She says that just sounds like a culinary hell nobody wants. Yeah, no shit. That would suck, dude. Like if every meal you had was just like a different flavor cube. It's the seeds, farming practices, technology, water, distribution, behind the scenes innovation that are going to change the content of our plates. She's rooting for avocados, though. They might not have been grown indoors, or they may have been grown indoors and cost $20 a pop. Well, again, if you calculate inflation over the next 30 years, that's probably like cheap. Let's see here. To take a look at the future of food might look like, we talked to some experts to come up with the menu predictions for the future. For the years 2023 and 2024, scientists offered their insights into how food might change. But for 100 years from now, the year 2122, we spoke with people who were unafraid to make the bold claims. Science fiction writers, see it all below. So 10 years. So within 10 years, they're saying, let's see here, grocery stores will be stocked with cell-cultured proteins.
Yeah.
Okay. So artificially created protein. Stem cells are collected, put into bioreactors, and fed nutrients like glucose. So basically just dumping sugar, and grown into animal-free chicken, beef, and pork, and even duck. And here's the cool thing is, like, this technology is already proven. It's not efficient.
Yeah.
Like once they get the efficiency down, it's good, because I know I've eaten. I was at Maker Faire 6 years ago, and they were serving little beef strips that were like about that big, and they were artificially lab grown meat, and they used a 3D printer to print a protein lattice or whatever. And so it was weird. The texture was weird. Like it didn't have that, sinewy texture that meat does. It was softer, and it was more consistent, like almost like a gelatin. Yeah. But it was a steak. It tasted like meat. Like it definitely had the meat flavor. And it wasn't like a fake meat. It was actual cells from a cow. Cool. That were grown on like that. They create they 3D print like a sugary lattice. They introduce the cells to it, and then they bind to it, and they grow. And as they consume the sugar, they replace it with meat. And so, but it wasn't an easy process. Like to grow those little piece of meats, he's like, oh yeah, that little bite that you just took is like $7 worth of meat. And I was like, oh damn, okay, well that ain't gonna work. So we can do that. So I could see that being, once you scale it up and you figure out all the things, that you just got a machine that's just pumping out, simulated cow carcasses.
Yeah, yeah.
You could probably even figure out technology to print in such a way that there's even like fat, you take and put the fat cells here and the meat cells here, or the muscle tissue cells here, and it'll even grow like an artificial vein network and everything, and have the same texture and everything as meat. And then at that point, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Krill said that sounds weird as fuck. It's still cool though. Like yeah, weird as fuck. But think about it. If you could do lab grown meat, and all you need to do it is you need the protein source and you need sugar, which are available I mean, there's many sources, right? You get it from vegetables.
Yeah.
You get the protein from soy or something, like is the protein source to extract from. You could even, like they were saying, pull carbon from the air. Like if you get a sufficiently advanced system, just like with Star Trek, it's like you literally make food from air because you take the air, you extract the CO2 from it, from everybody breathing, and then you realign that the atoms and those carbon molecules, and you can make them anything. So but that's probably a ways out. So 20 years in the future, 2042, it said personalized nutrition was the phrase I heard most in the food industry experts, like the head of R&D at PepsiCo, which recently launched a sweet patch to tell you when you need more Gatorade.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. So what 23andMe did for genetics, we'll do for nutrition and gut health department. Imagine a wristwatch that pings you when your sodium's high. Cool, but creepy. I wouldn't find that creepy at all. I think that's badass.
Right?
Like I wanted to be like, oh, you got low blood sugar. Oh, your heart, isn't running at optimal point. Like, run in place for 1 minute until this like numbers right here and then hold it. I don't know. I think stuff like that's cool. Biometrics are amazing in both directions. Hey, Biker Chris, thank you for the $12.57 super chat. He said, hey, guys, missed most. We'll watch it in the full tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be good. Some interesting topics for sure. Fun fact, we didn't get to the topics like the first 2 hours. But it's okay.
Yeah, right.
Actually, technically, we got to one of them. Here, hold on. I heard something. What was that?
Ew.
I had a barking spider under my chair. Don't worry, I stepped on it. Let's see. Really good to see you recently perk up lately. I think I've been a little bit more perky lately. I think those shots on my back did help overall.
Good.
I sure hope so. They were expensive as hell. Oh my God. Let's see. So if we go down to here, I'm gonna jump ahead. Okay, 100 years. So what does food look like in 100 years projected? So it says 4 science fiction writers with buzzy, brilliant books about about this year muse on about what they think eating 100 years from now will be like. Thankfully, no Soylent and Green. That's good. So, okay, the menu 100 years from now is chicken tartare. Let's see here, on a bed of Mariana Trench plankton. That'd be kind of cool, like something brought up from the Mariana Trench. Plankton from the deepest point in the Pacific Ocean, where they have yet to explore the possibilities of food. It's served it's served an edible fungi tart dish from La Crusette, a brand that'll surely endure even the culinary innovations in the kitchen to biotech labs. I know everybody loves their La Crusette, even my wife does. This snack is brought to you by the inventive minds of Sequoia Nagamatsu. Let's see here. What is this? Sustainability farmed mussels and a citrus broth covered in gigantic supreme lime. Like, okay, these are just names, but I want to know like how they're gonna do it here. Oh, here's one: 3D printed tortilla chips.
Nice,
right?
I like that.
That's the thing, is how is that 100 years in the future? Like, I could see 3D printed tortilla chips like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't seem like something that would be 100 years out.
They're pulling quotes from sci-fi authors.
Yeah, okay, that's why. Just each one has a
they're pulling interesting little tidbits. Yeah,
because if I had to guess, like with the way our technology is advancing now and the way Moore's law really is kicking into high gear, because we thought we were going to hit the upper bound, but we're not. We're just going out instead of up. But I would say, like, gosh, the technology. If you just look at like the 50s versus today, like even like 70 years ago, or just think we've only had cars were not common. Like cars were only really invented in like the late 1800s, early 1900s. They were only mainstream, were like not super wealthy aristocrat people were driving them in like the 1915s, 1920s, like with the Model T.
Yeah.
So if you think about how little time in airplanes, like it's hard to think that like airplanes all over the sky, like thousands of them flying everywhere all the time. It's like that was like, 2 dudes on their little, motorcycle engine driven, glider, the Wright brothers in the early 1900s. Doesn't seem like it was that long ago. So it's like 100 years is a lot of time. And if you see how far we've come, where it's like now we've got quantum computers, we've got, I'm sitting here on a computer. Nobody, if you told somebody even in the 80s, that's like, hey, one day you're going to be sitting in front of a 52-inch screen that has 100 times the resolution of the screen that you're working on, with unlimited color palette that's this bright, that with keyboards with LEDs and everybody, you wouldn't believe it. But today we just take it for granted.
Yeah.
So I'd say in 100 years, it would not be like outside the realm of us designing some kind of science or some kind of technology where it's like you have an appliance in your house that you just put a cartridge on that has matter in it specifically arranged matter, like you would just 3D printer filament, and you go through a little menu on it, and you're like, I'd like a hamburger, and it's like, you know, ETA 3 minutes, and it's actually constructing the burger and heating it, and, you know, running radiation through it, and, you know, that seems to me like that's within the realm of possibility in 100 years.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know, and like restaurants won't have people in them anymore. Like restaurants, you won't even go to them. You'll just, wherever you're at, you'll just be like, you'll pick up your phone and be like, hey, Alexa, yeah, I would like a number 3 from China Express or whatever. And a drone's just going to come over like 10 minutes later and like fly down and like set it in your hands, you know? And it might even talk to you. Like at that point, we may have like full AIs on these things where it's like, oh, hey, you know, would you like to upsize your fries? You know, no. Okay. Well, you know, how's your day going? And then you tell them how your day's going, and then it gives you therapy. Like it switch over to the therapy AI, and it's like, oh, tell me about how you feel. Oh, I sense some emotion in your voice. Would you like to talk about that? You know, it's like now you're ordering a hamburger, but the person's also like talking you out of suicide or talking you off a cliff or something. Like, I don't know. I think that technology could get like way more advanced than we're even thinking about right now.
Oh yeah.
So I'm pretty
That'd
stoked
be cool.
about that.
Yeah, I like the idea of future food stuff. The, you know, lab grown meats and meats alternatives and blah blah blah.
You know what I care about the most?
Before eating lab made meat. I mean, sure, that's fine. Oh, there's somebody I'd rather go vegan before eating lab made meat. Okay, I mean that's fine.
Hell no, man. Give me the lab made meat all day.
Okay, I'll try
all
it.
day, son.
Whatever, man. I do
don't eat it because they
Beyond
died.
stuff.
I eat it because it's tasty.
Beyond and Impossible are great. So if it whatever.
Well, technically, those are vegan options.
Yeah.
Like there's no meat in those things. This would still be meat. It just wouldn't be like living in the sense that you or I would consider it. It won't. Yeah. It'd still be living. It just wouldn't be sentient.
Right.
Hey, Biker Chris, thank you for the $12 super chat. He said, "Hey guys, missed." Oh no, I think I already read that one. Didn't I just take some interesting topics? Yeah, I think I already read that one. Biker Chris, thank you though. We appreciate that support, man, a lot. You know, the only technology I really care about, like right now, is them fixing my back and giving me immortality. That's all I want. Once they figure that out, because I want to be around in 100 years to see what happens.
Yeah,
like that. Honestly, I don't even care if it's just a computer simulation. If they can figure out how to download my brain into a computer before I die, which highly unlikely, but if they can figure out some technology that's like, oh, okay, you know, we're doing this new thing where we just take and download all your neurons into a computer and keep them running in a perpetual simulation, you know, emulating the human brain in every single, because the way I see it is we're a product of how our brain works, right? You're a product of your neurochemistry. So if you could take a duplicate of your brain, like a freeze frame of every single neuron, every single piece of matter in your brain and the relationships and that electrical, and maintain that was it bioelectrical current, right? And you copied that into, even if it was a computer simulation that was doing all the same things, it still should do and say every single thing you would be if you were inside of a computer. Like it would still, it's not going to be you. You're still dead, but for all intents and purposes to everybody else, they could go into a virtual world and interact with you, and that person would still be the same. It's kind of you. To them, it'd be indistinguishable. So it's kind of like that TV series. What's it called? Upload. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah.
I love that show where it's like when you die, when you're gonna die, you just pay and get yourself uploaded into like an infinite immortality in the internet. It's kind of cool idea. Like I think that would be neat. And then you should have a self-delete button. So like when you've done everything or you get bored or there's not enough stuff in there, then it's like at that point you're already dead, right? Your body's already dead. So it shouldn't be a matter of ethics or whatever. So you should just have a button that's just a checkout button. That's like, well, I did everything in it. I went through everything 5 times. You know, I've lived for 20 years in the simulation. You know, my grandkids don't visit me anymore or whatever. Okay, I'm just bored. And then you just go push the button and boom, you just get deleted off the hard drive. I don't know. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I think it'd be all right. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think that's technology though that we will explore, because ultimately we're already figuring out that our brains don't work fast enough that we have to augment it with technology. That's why we all use computers, right?
Sure.
It's just a matter of time before it just merges closer and closer and closer together, where you don't really know where the human stops and where the computer starts.
Yeah.
And I know that if we don't blow ourselves up, at some point the technology will get to the point where you're buying modules at the store to install into your brain. It'll be like Johnny Mnemonic, right? You're going to go down the store and buy the new the new memory upgrade that you put into your thing, and you can literally like, you know, flip pictures through and have a heads up display, and you know you'll be able to put a thing in that'll like tell your muscles to grow faster and give you like, okay, do I want stamina or do I want dexterity? Like, what do I want my caloric efficiency to be? Like, do I want to lose weight? You'll just download those programs into your brain, and it'll basically just change your or mimic what like medicines would do, like for like dopamine and serotonin and norepinephrine and all those. It just manipulates all those to make you feel like your best all the time. I think that'd be kind of cool. But then again, would humans really be humans at that point? Because it's like, yeah, everybody's still like deciding everything, but the neurochemistry wouldn't be your own. Like things that would make you respond normally, you wouldn't respond that way anymore. So at that point, are you still really you?
I mean, that starts getting into a philosophical discussion about what does it mean to be you and consciousness and stuff like that.
Yeah, fair point. See what else we got here in the topics. We talked about the black hole a little bit, but not really.
A little bit.
So, but yeah, if you guys haven't heard, we finally found a black hole that's in our galaxy.
Oh, it is the black hole, the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy.
Yeah, that's holding everything together.
Because like we know that they're out there, but yeah,
but we found this one.
This is a big one. We're looking at the center of the universe, or not the universe, the galaxy.
The butthole. No, it's the butthole of our galaxy. That was the article I read.
Super cool, man. Super cool.
Yeah, because just like a star holds a solar system together, a super black hole holds a galaxy together.
Yeah.
So and so we found ours, which is pretty damn cool. Like that's like a needle in a haystack, right? Like if you think about how big the galaxy is, the fact that we're able even to like find it by looking at all the other stars and looking at everything else and being like, this is where it has to be based on the motion around it, and then photographing it for 8 years using radio telescopes, like it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's a very blurry image, but still, it's like there's our black hole, there's the center of our galaxy. And to think that there's billions of other galaxies out there, or actually probably more than that, you know, it's damn near an infinite number, because the further you get away, you can't see the light yet because the light hasn't made it to you yet. So in theory, everything that's moving away from you at light speed, you would never actually see the light. Right? Because if it's emanating light at light speed, but it's moving in the opposite direction at light speed, that light's going to move very slow. So you hit like this. I saw this really cool chart that somebody showed where it's like Earth. And then as you go out, it's sparse, and then it gets denser. And then there's a hard cutoff where just everything's black past that. And they used to refer that to the edge of the universe, but it's not the edge of the universe. What it is that's the edge of how far light can travel in 13.5 billion years or trillion years, or however long the universe has been around that we suspect. That's at light speed. That's how long it would take light to get from the edge of that to us, which means that anything that's further away from that point, we haven't received its light yet.
That's right.
So that we think that there could be an infinite, like galaxies could just be infinitely recursive throughout the entire universe, but we'd never be able to see it because of the physics of light. It's kind of cool stuff to think about, because it's you can't, you know, there could be a billion other Earths out there that are just past where we'd ever be able to see each other because of the physics of light.
Huh.
You know, or if something, if a photon is coming at you, just like with a black hole absorbing a photon, if a photon's coming at you, but the thing that's emitting the photon is moving in the opposite direction at the same speed of light, then you're basically just going to have a photon in suspension. Like the photon can only move, right? The photon can only move at light speed. So it's moving light speed away from its source relative to the source.
Right.
But relative to you, it's still, because you're moving away from it. So it's because it's moving away. It can't move faster than light away from the source. And if the source is going the other way, see, you run into these like really weird things, because human brains are really good at looking at things in relativistic terms, right?
Yeah.
It's like we always look at everything from our point of view, because obviously that makes sense. That's our point of view. But when you think about it, it's like when you measure something, you're measuring it from your perspective. It could look tiny from somebody else's perspective. It could look tiny if you're way far away, or really big close up. It's all about your reference frame. Well, out in space, even though there's a hard limit on how fast a photon can travel, which is the speed, you know, what is it, like 128,000 miles per second or something like that.
Close enough, fast. Yeah.
But in the cosmic scheme, it's not very fast. Like for a photon to get from our own sun to Earth is like 8 minutes. Like if the sun exploded, you wouldn't know about it for 8 minutes.
Right.
You know, which is kind of hard to wrap your head around. And then you're like, well, that's just our solar system. What about all the other solar systems that are like seem infinitely far away from us, but are really our closest neighbor? You know, how many hours, days, weeks, months, years does it take for the light to get there? 10 light years. So 10 years for a photon to get from our sun, just our neighbor. You know, and then you start thinking at the cosmic scale, right? You start looking at like the galaxy and then the universe, and you're like, well, okay, light is slow as shit, right? Light is intergalactic molasses. But it also means that anything that we generate or anything that we emanate is still restricted to that speed, and it's relative to us and how we're moving away from the center of the universe. So, and the Earth relative to other things we've observed is moving pretty fast. I don't remember how fast it is, but it's like, it's crazy fast. It's like almost like, here, let me see if I can find it really quick. Like, let's see how fast is our solar system moving? So let's see here. So it's estimated that, no, that's sun speed. Where is relative? Oh, I got to put relative here. Relative to center of the universe. 483,000 miles per hour. So that's how fast we're cruising. Yeah. We're cruising through space relative to what we consider the center of the universe. Let's see here. So wait, okay. So our little cluster of planets and sun are moving together through our galaxy at 483,000 miles per second. So that, or per hour. That's only to our galaxy. That's not the center of the universe. That's the center of our galaxy.
Okay.
So we're probably moving even faster than that relative to the universe, since the galaxy itself is also moving out away from the center of the universe. So anyways, it's like these speeds compound, but you eventually get to a speed where you're like, even if somebody wanted to shine a laser at us, they couldn't, because we're moving too far away from each other. And then you run into the paradox of what happens if I'm moving this way at the speed of light and this thing's moving this way at the speed of light. Well, our speed relative to each other is light squared. Right. So you're technically going faster than the speed of light, but you're not really, because relative to the universe, you're going the speed of light. This guy's going the speed of light. But if you try to shine a light back at each other, that light will never meet, because you're moving away from each other at double the speed of light, which means any attempt to shine a light from one side or the other is going to be slower than the planets moving away from your relative speed. So like if you have two planets going like this, and the photon can only go this fast, then the other planets are going like this, and the photon's like not catching it. It's getting away. So it looks like it's moving faster than the speed of light, but it's not. It's moving faster than the speed of light relative to the other planet, but not faster than the speed of light relative to the universe.
Sure.
So anyways, it really fucks with my brain. Think about this, because I'm like, okay, so you can't go faster than the speed of light, but you can have two photons traveling away from each other at the speed of light, which means that they're leaving each other. The distance between them is growing faster than the speed of light.
Huh.
So you start, and then your brain kind of crashes a little bit. You're like, okay, this is weird. So if you wanted to travel faster than the speed of light, couldn't you just accelerate to the speed of light and then kick off at the speed of light? Like that's the thing. It technically wouldn't work, but then you'd be going relative to where you were to speed of light. Could you redouble that? Well, physics of the universe say you can't do that, right? They would just pile up. It'd be like the equivalent of a sonic boom, but just with light. Light would just build up. It wouldn't go anywhere. Yeah. It'd just get really bright and just sit there. You'd just be in a big, huge cloud of photons not going anywhere. They'd be moving at light speed, but you're moving right alongside them at the same speed. So you're like, it doesn't look like it's moving. So very, very weird way to look at the universe. But then you start thinking about, okay, well, traveling faster than the speed of light, then is that possible? And you're like, well, yeah, it is, because everything's relative. So if you think about it, you can move faster than the speed of light without actually moving faster than the speed of light, or at least get the effect. And what that is, if you're moving towards the speed of light, then the light emanating from you back to the reference frame. So if you're Earth and you're moving away at the speed of light, the time it takes for that light to get back to Earth takes a lot longer, because you're moving faster away. So relative to Earth, you're slowing down. So you're still moving at the speed of light, but you get slower and slower and slower and slower and slower. And then you turn around and you come back at the speed of light. Now all of a sudden Earth's progressed 100 years, and it's been 10 minutes for you.
Right.
So it's like, did you travel faster than the speed of light because relative to the Earth, you were gone for 100 years and you traveled that distance, even though relative to you never went faster than the speed of light?
Perspective.
Yeah, it's once you take perspective and frame of reference into account, you're like, wow, the rules are a little wonky. Like, they kind of make sense when you talk about them, but you're like, okay, there's some like weird contradictions here, but they're not. Like it works. Like the math actually works. And then you've got bending space-time, right? That's the other one, because they've already proven that time moves slower in orbit than it does on the surface of Earth, because our Earth creates a gravity well, and that gravity well burns space or bends space-time. It's only by like fractions of like a nanosecond. But using atomic clocks in orbit and down on Earth, we've been able to see that drift. We know it.
GPS is high enough that they have to compensate for the time dilation.
I forgot about that. They do. GPS absolutely has to compensate for time dilation. So if the Earth creates a distortion in space like that, then what kind of distortion does a black hole create?
Oh no, they have math for that too.
Yeah. So like if
after a certain point, the time stops.
Right. You'd never hit it.
in a weird. I think it's past the event horizon. It makes things start getting wonky. Like it's just like quantum stuff. Like you start approaching the extremes of all of this, and that stuff starts breaking down. It doesn't.
Yeah, it's like our brains aren't designed to quantify this. Like we have to have a computer tell us how it works because our brain just doesn't make sense. The computer has to be like, nope, the math checks out. And you're like, well, I don't. Does it? Because here's the thing. If you were on a spaceship and you were flying into a black hole and your ship was so strong and had an anti-gravity field inside of it, so you inside the ship were influenced by the gravity, and this is all speculative or hypothetical, but let's say you're going into the thing, you would eventually just crash into the massive mass in the center of the black hole and you would die. But relative to everybody else in the universe, you would never hit it. Which is the weird thing to think about, because as you're approaching the black hole, that gravity distortion distorts time more and more the closer you get, and you'll eventually get so close that time just keeps rehaving. It's like the thing. It's like if you divide a number infinitely, you'll never hit zero. Like what is it like if you divide like what is it like 1 by what is it like 0.5? Then you get like 0.5, then 0.5 by 0.5, then you get 2.5,
oh, you can always,
0.5 by 0.5.
You can always cut it in half.
Yeah, you basically just keep cutting it in half. If you keep cutting it in half like a string, you'll never ever get to the other end.
Yeah.
And so the same thing would happen to the universe. Everything that's falling into a black hole is eventually going to get to a point where it just freezes to the rest of the universe. The rest of the universe is like, it's never going to hit it. But if you were the actual thing going towards the black hole, you absolutely would hit it. Like you would perceive it because you're moving in real time relative to your position. So you're like, but what does that look like to the rest of the universe if they're watching you and rehaving, you never actually hit it? Like that doesn't make any sense to me, because if you crashed into it and you crashed into it and the rest of the universe never actually sees you hit it because of the distortion of space time, how the hell
does it ever really happen?
Did it ever really happen? Yeah. Did a tree fall in the woods? So it didn't make a sound if nobody was there. You know, it just, I don't know. Shit like that blows my mind.
But that's besides the point. The whole tree falling in the woods thing.
It does. It absolutely makes a sound.
It does. It does still make a sound because all the rest of the physical stuff necessary to make sound is there. But just because it wasn't observed,
it would severely break the simulation too, because the air currents that are created or the animals that tree lands on or whatever changes the course of reality. So you have to simulate the sound from that tree, because sound is just pressure, right? Sound isn't actually sound. We perceive it as sound, but it's actually just pressure. Bitchy Poo, thank you for the $10 super chat. He said they often show the Big Bang as a shotgun event instead of a global event moving away in all directions. It's always confused me. Yeah, I've seen that where Big Bang is actually depicted is a point with things moving out in one direction away from it. But I think that's like the same way as like when we visualize a galaxy, we see everything on a single plane, even though everything's slightly off.
Yeah. It's
like, I think it's just one of those things where it's like, it's just a way of like looking at it, where you're basically, instead of looking at it straight on, you're turning it sideways to illustrate the point. Like you're turning 3D into 2D and you're trying to represent it on a 2D plane. So, because I've seen those graphs before and they didn't make any sense, because Big Bang would absolutely be in every direction. It's not like it was a shape charge. You know, it's like it was a matter antimatter explosion that was, you know, so powerful you couldn't even like wrap your head around it, right? Like the biggest, you know, explosion in the known universe that ever existed, never will exist. But there's also some crazy theories too, like, you know, what if our entire universe is just an engine? We're just a cylinder in an engine. It just blows up, everything moves away, and then everything slows down and just comes right back. Like gravity just pulls it all back eventually. However, there's some stuff disproving that now. They're saying that stuff is still accelerating that shouldn't be. Like if we thought that it got absorbed back into the Big Bang, it would actually slow down, but it's not. It's actually going faster.
Yeah, it's speeding up.
And that's why they're doing a search now for, what is it, dark energy? I think it's dark energy, because they said if dark energy existed, that would explain why these solar systems and galaxies and stuff are still gaining speed, because they shouldn't be. They should have been at their top speed, leaving Big Bang. Like all the matter that was a part of that, it shouldn't have gained any inertia. It should have been going the same speed, and then as it was encountering things, it should have been losing momentum. Like as it was crashing into other things and stuff, it would absorb the energy and it would slow down. Nothing should have sped it up.
Nope.
Which is kind of the thing. Like because if everything's moving away at the same speed, there's no way anything else could hit you to push you faster, because nothing else is moving faster than you at the time of the Big Bang. Like everything's relatively moving the same speed. So it's like, how the hell are we still accelerating then? So So now they're thinking that it's like these gravity wells and stuff that are created. There's like this dark energy involved, and the bending of space time or whatever is creating a wake that's actually like accelerating matter. So I don't know. I don't understand it. I'm not even I'm Dunning-Kruger in the shit out of this, but it's fascinating to think of just how much we still don't understand. Like every time we think we understand something, it just makes it a more complicated puzzle. You know, we used to think the atom was the smallest thing, and now we're looking at quarks and gluons,
bosons,
right?
And stuff,
bosons and shit that exist for fractions of a nanosecond.
Like, it's so weird. We're totally like the whole so there's before I go to this path, to separate the difference between multiple dimensions and multiple like multiverse sort of talk. Okay. So like within our universe, there exists many dimensions, right? And you can get into the math of that kind of thing. But it's like when we started looking at like, okay, well, what gives an electron mass? Like it exists, it's there, so it's got to be made of something, right? And so we start looking into that. That's how we get into like quarks and gluons and these bosons and stuff.
Yeah, the subatomic and the subatomic.
It's a what is a boson? Like it's some sort of wiggliness in the fabric of reality that somehow gives, like, okay, what a boson doesn't have mass of its own, I guess, but then it exists somehow as an observable thing.
If I recall, the boson did have mass. That's what they were looking
for. Okay, so then what is it that's made out of then?
Right.
You know, and like how many turtles do you go down? And I really feel like the answers to those questions is it's coming from a dimension that we don't have the sensory perception for. Like this dark matter, dark energy. Like, well, we can't see it, right? There's nothing that we have that can observe this stuff. But we know it's there because just like the ripples in a pool, even though you didn't see the rock, you know there was something that did it. Even though you can't see it, and we can tell, there's characteristics of the thing that is doing this because of the effects that it's having on everything else. And it's just, it's these higher level dimensions that we can't perceive yet. And it's all going to be sort of indirect observation. We might get to a point where we can do that. But at this point, all we can see is the effect. We don't have the ability to see more of it, to observe the actual thing,
and we can only observe it with our own limitations. Like light, the speed of light, for instance, severely limits our ability to observe things that are that infinitesimally small.
It's like if you were two-dimensional, you couldn't perceive the depth of a three-dimensional thing because you can only see it in the dimensions that you exist in.
Yeah.
Right. So like if you, as a drawing on a paper, we'll consider that two-dimensional, you could see the hand above the paper, but you wouldn't be able to perceive like the depth and the curvature of it. It would just be flat, just like you, but you could still see the effects of that three-dimensional thing. Like, the shadows and like the fact that like, oh, how come the edges are a little blurrier or whatever, I don't know how exactly that would look, but like, there are things that would give you clues that there's something else going on here beyond what we're able to see.
You wouldn't even be able to contemplate it. Like your mind from that reference frame wouldn't even be able to understand what that third dimension was.
Only like a theoretical sense. Just in the idea of like trying to wrap your head around the fact that space-time is a dimension of its own, that is beyond, and that they're intertwined, that like it's a thing, like I don't know. That's it's you can understand it from like a conceptual standpoint, or kind of wrap your head around it as like you can accept it even if you don't quite fully understand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, quantum mechanics definitely falls into that arena of like no matter how much I study it, it becomes more confusing. Like the more you study it, the more confusing it becomes, especially when you're talking about quantum entanglement and quantum teleportation, because every time somebody explains it to me, all I think about is, wait a second. So the person has to observe the state. They can't change the state. They just have to observe it. So they have to look at it.
Observing it does change it. We know that.
But here's the thing, though, is like, even if you did have somebody put the thing in the box and they cut it in half and they sent one part here and one part here, of course, regardless of which side you observe, it's going to be that state, like, anyways. So, but people always tell me in quantum mechanics, no, that's wrong. That's wrong, because it does, until somebody observes it here, it's not that state over there. And they're like, well, because if that person observed the state over there, then it would change the state here. So basically, there's no way for anybody to confirm it. You can't confirm the theory, because as soon as somebody looks at it or measures it, that specifically measures it. You don't have to look at it. Just if anything attempts to measure it, which is an interaction, then it basically locks its state and then the other one locks state because it's sunk to it over a distance.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is like my presentation is like, okay, well, if you don't know what it is until you measure it, how can you be sure that it wasn't already in that state before you measured it, because you can't measure it? So, but then they tell me that's where I go the other direction. Like, nope, you're not thinking about it right. You're not thinking about it right. And I'm like,
it's
okay,
all weird and wiggly stuff. But I don't know. It's neat.
It's spooky action at a distance. That's what Einstein said.
Yeah.
No, quantum mechanics is a mind job. I still don't even understand like quantum computers, like the whole thing with like qubits and being able to do like parallel operations and looking at relativistic probability instead of absolutes. Like it's such a weird prospect. Instead of binary, it's maybe.
It's crazy stuff. I think we're gonna bump into something eventually that'll really put everything on its head. You know, because as we keep poking through this stuff, we're finding out that like that's the thing is like, man, there's no reason to think that there is not other entities that are beyond our perception. Like there are colors. It already is a thing that there is so much of our existence that we are incapable of perceiving. Just think of just the color spectrum. We observable, like our visible light, that's all completely based on the weird meat sack orbs that are in my brain case right now. There's no reason why we couldn't have evolved to view, to perceive infrared or UV or anything. It's just a matter of like the way our meat stuff came together. There's so much of the universe that we physically are incapable of perceiving, that like why couldn't ghosts be a manifestation of that person's, like, I don't know, psychic imprint on some other dimension, on some extra higher level dimension of existence that we physically can't perceive? Why not? A traumatic enough event could potentially leave some sort of ripples on some dimension or another. Why not?
Yeah.
You know,
actually, Jetto Black made a good point too.
I don't know.
He said there's been an experiment proven by passing both entangled particles through a filter, which would block a collapsed state, but it does not block the entangled state, and both pass.
There you go.
I have seen that experiment, but it still didn't register with me, like why that would be the case. So basically, there's like this weird
because they pass through other dimensions that are not affected by our.
I mean, maybe
on this plane.
Seriously, that's as good a guess as any, right?
You know, why not? Why not?
Because it's like you take a filter that's going to filter out that particle, and you put two slits through it, and somehow the particles are still hitting multiple targets on the other side of the slits outside of the ballistic trajectory. And you're like, how the hell is that happening? There's no lensing. There's no optics or anything like that. So it's like there has to be.
So what? Like, and then that leads to another thing. Though, well, then why couldn't we push, something onto another plane?
Yeah, like if you can control it, right? That's the thing, is like, and that's what we always do, is historically we figure out how to observe something and then we figure out how to control it.
Yeah.
So it's same thing with radiation, right? It's like Madame Curie or whatever. She's like, oh shit, I figured out what radiation is. Oh, here's a cloud chamber. Look, you can visualize it. Now we can see what it is. And then people are like, I wonder what we could do if we could control that.
Yeah.
And then you got nuclear power and bombs, right?
Yeah.
So I think the same thing's going to happen at the quantum level. We're going to finally understand quantum mechanics. We're going to be like, okay, well, let's say quantum entanglement, the theory holds. It does. The theory does hold up. That quantum entanglement is a thing. Well, what happens if you can control the state of it. Like when you observe it, you can control the state of it. They don't think it's possible today, but that doesn't mean we couldn't figure out how to do it tomorrow. And if we could, then you could communicate over great distances in real time.
Yeah.
And you'd be able to observe the universe.
Because at a certain point, like the whole quantum entanglement thing, like the distance in space-time can be irrelevant when we're moving along a different axis, right? Like the entangled, whatever it is, magnets, right? How does that work? Whatever it is that's connecting them, that connection exists along a different axis of reality, or however you want to call it. Yeah. So like their physical distance doesn't matter when they're still close together, or even existing on the same point on a different axis.
Yeah, it'd be like every time you're moving your arm, it's creating like a shadow.
Like,
and that each shadow is infinitely creating another shadow, and then those shadows are infinitely creating another shadow. Those could all be different dimensions that we just don't perceive.
Yeah,
like we're flicking the camera, right? It's like we see the arm going like this, but there might be a perception of the universe where it's like you're everywhere at once.
And you are. I mean, that leads down a whole different sort of thing. But like the whole idea of like branching timelines and stuff, why not? You are just existing as like this infinite stack upon yourself for every choice, everything that could be or has been or will be. It's just this infinite stack on top of each other, or splitting off, maybe if it's wildly divergent, but they all exist. That's a whole thing too. All of time is now, right? And then it's our meat sack perception of how time is moving, or how we're moving through time, which is another axis, right? Like we all are, from time's perspective, everything is right now. We are just moving along that axis differently than something else. And so why not? Why couldn't we, decide to jump off at a different point? Because we can, or it's possible. I don't know.
Actually, the more I think about it, it's like time travel does kind of make sense now.
Of course, because there's no reason not to. Because
we can already go. We already know, like we absolutely know, because we've already proven it, that you can travel to the future. Like you can travel to the future.
Go fast enough.
Yeah, if you go fast enough, you can travel to the future. Like you'll age at your relative speed, but everything else goes much faster. So you can be like, 5 minutes to you is 5,000 years to them. So you could just like haul ass in one direction, then haul ass back, and be like, oh man, we know that would work if we could travel at the speed of light. However, what if we could communicate over quantum mechanics over a greater distance? Like say we communicate with a galaxy that's 13 billion light years away. We could literally look through their telescope, their quantum telescope. And if we could observe Earth from a reference frame of close to Earth, you'd see like dinosaurs and shit walking around, right?
Yeah.
You would actually. That's gotta be crazy. There's people out there that probably do see that. There's probably an Earth somewhere with a telescope.
So you could travel.
So every planet we're looking at right now, like even if we had a telescope that was so good that we could look at the surface of a planet that's like a galaxy over, hell, not even a galaxy, a solar system over, we would be looking at that planet like we'd see a live image, but that live image is literally 10, 20, 30, 100,000 years old. We're observing that planet what it was, not what it is. Yeah. And if they were looking at us, if there's somebody out there that's more sophisticated than us by 1,000 years, and they got the fancy telescopes and everything, and they can literally they see dinosaurs walking around right now. They don't see humans. Like, why would they even bother coming over here? From their frame of reference, our planet's just primordial.
Yeah. Well, so if you were observing, you would know that that's 65 million years ago or whatever.
Well, right. If they had the technology to do it, they'd be able to draw that conclusion. But so what we really need to do is, if we do create sufficiently advanced technology to, like, say, look at a planet's surface that's in another galaxy, we would have to account for the time dilation and see what was currently on that planet, and then project what might happen. Yeah. So we'd have to use like a computer to say, okay, based on the microbial life and the atmosphere and everything over this period of time, do we think a sufficiently advanced civilization could possibly rise up there? And what is that probability? And that's about the closest we could get to being like, oh, how much intelligent life is out there in the universe? It's just a guess. Because we'd never be able to observe each other, because literally the little 2 tin cans with the wire is just too slow of communication. I don't know. Shit like that blows my mind. I love cool. I can talk about this shit all day. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is fun. Well, we probably start wrapping up.
Yeah, okay.
Let me see if we got hold on. I think did we have one more topic? Let me see. What did we miss? We did the Elon Musk, we did the black hole, we did future food. Oh, we didn't do traffic in space.
There's a bunch of junk up there and it's becoming a problem.
Yeah, that's like, and there's companies profiting on it. Like apparently this company started up here. Let me see here. So the startup wants to help space companies navigate increasingly crowded night skies. So let's see here. So Privateer debuted in March. The Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak is the president. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't even read that part. He said, let's see, in some ways, the final frontier of space is similar to the Wild Wild West, lawless and full of opportunity. Northern Sky Research, a space industry consulting firm, projected that the industry will generate over $1.25 trillion in cumulative revenue by 2030. And because of the cost of launch has never been lower, thanks to the reusability of rockets, cheaper components, and the rise of private space companies, let's see here, space is getting more and more crowded with those looking to take advantage. Like if you looked over time, like the projected, like it's exponential growth, right? Like space is going to be crowded way faster than we think.
Oh yeah.
Because if you look at it, like, okay, 1900, there's nothing in space. Then there's a blip. Then it's like with the nuclear stuff, right? It's like blip, and then, you know, same thing. It's like you look 100 years into the future, and it's like the whole you'll be able to look up at the sky and probably it'll look like we're in an asteroid field.
Oh man.
So we got to figure out how to solve that because before that becomes a big problem. That's going to get away from us quick.
Huh.
But yeah, if Kessler syndrome actually happened, like, dude, we'd be trapped on our planet. Like, how fucked would that be?
Yep.
Like, people don't realize that, but it's like enough
build
satellites,
armored rockets to just crash through the.
I was thinking about that. I was like, could you? Because the armor would be. I guess you could create lighter armors and stuff, but like, wouldn't the armor be too heavy? Like, the more armor you put on it, the more rocket, the more fuel.
Not
the bigger the rocket has to be.
It could be
seems like it gets away from you.
Yeah, what do they call ablative armor, where like chinks off, like it, right? It absorbs it by breaking off, that kind of thing. It would necessarily have to be super heavy, you know. It just has to absorb the impact.
You could also just like fire like 3 or 4 giant nuclear bombs, like ahead of your, just literally just to blow so much shit out of the path that it takes a while for it to propagate back into the path. And then you just basically just have your ship behind it. It's like boom, 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 and your ship is just like and then how does it get back? It has to do the same thing. So hopefully that never happens.
Yeah.
If it did, though, there'd probably be an industry for space garbage men.
Space nets.
Yeah, exactly, right? We'd probably launch like autonomous like drone things with huge nets that would just catch shit. Yeah. But again, like, how do you catch shit that's moving at like 17,000 miles per second or whatever? You'd have to. And you can go in orbit in both directions, right? Like you don't have to orbit in one direction. You can orbit in both directions. So
I do think generally stuff goes around with the spin.
Yeah, but I think that's more because just to be relative to the ground, so you're not, because otherwise you couldn't do much useful work because the Earth would be orbiting like hundreds of times a day if you were going the other way.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine the debris doesn't give a shit. Like when you blow up a satellite and debris going in every direction, I imagine some of it's doing a counter rotation. So, and not only on just that plane, you know, it's going to get sucked into a plane, right? Because of the magnetic field of Earth, you're going to get a specific plane of that debris. But the problem is everything that orbits the Earth has to cross through it. So it's like, you know, how do you orbit the Earth if there's a plane across it, like the rings of Saturn? No matter what orbit you choose, there is no orbit you can pick where you don't have to cross through that goddamn path unless you're far enough away. So, and the further you get away, then you kind of screw with your ability to do stuff like Starlink and stuff like that with like the low Earth orbit satellites. So, I don't know. I'd be kind of scared living on the International Space Station. However, it has fared for like 30 years, but they get pelted with shit all the time.
Yeah,
like I've seen them do spacewalks where it's like there's clear dents and dings and bangs and paint missing and shit, and you're like, you know, they didn't do that on the ground like that. Yeah, they're like sleeping at night, and you know they're hearing like clink, clink, pop. You know, pink. That, you know, they're probably used to it by now. That's crazy. Space is crazy. Well, guys, I want to thank you for showing up today. You guys have been awesome. You too, Ox. Love your face.
Yeah, right on, man. This is good,
brother.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for the super chats. You guys are awesome. You're the legends. Biker Chris. Ooh. I am me. You guys are awesome.
You guys bought us lunch today.
Yep. A Gaming Maddie rocks. Renegade. You guys are legends. We really appreciate it, especially Bitchy Poo. You know, Bitchy Pew, thank you so much for the $10, man. We appreciate it. They'll clean it up with lasers. I mean, that's an option, right? If you can vaporize it all into gas and just let it off gas into space, I mean, you can vaporize anything. Like they found a planet apparently that has it rains liquid molten iron.
Sure, why not?
There is a planet that they have found. I just watched a documentary on it last night of weird. It was like the 10 weirdest planets we've ever found, and one of the planets, it has one 4,000 degrees or something, and then the other side is slightly cooler. It's not slightly, it's a lot cooler. So that faces space. So what happens is it creates these massive winds, right? Because like a giant hurricane or tornado. And because the surface is 4,000 degrees, all of the iron deposits on the planet basically bubble to the surface like a lake of molten metal and then evaporate into a gas because it's hot enough that it doesn't just melt it turns it into a gas. And then that gas goes around the other side of the planet, recondenses into liquid molten iron and rains. It literally rains molten iron on this planet. I was like, oh crap. Okay, well, that's a planet we're never visiting. but it just blows my mind that we're finding stuff like that now that we're just getting to the point where we can actually analyze these planets instead of just knowing they exist because of a shadow they cast, right? It's like we know they're there. We can point a thing at them. We use spectrometry to figure out the temperature of the planet, temperature of the atmosphere, the mineral contents and stuff of the planet. Like, I mean, it's starting to turn into like a video game. It's pretty cool. We'll be back again next week, unless you good for next week, Aux? Anything on the
docket? I think so.
As far as you know, you're clear.
Let me see. Yeah, it doesn't look like I have everything.
Sweet, then you guys will see us again next
week. Maybe a little short because my youngest said we're doing her birthday party that day.
Not a problem. So we'll see you guys next week. Same bad time, same bad place. We'll probably go back to 11 a.m. if that's okay with you. We'll just do it like an hour or so.
I'm gonna put this out there to try and kind of make it real. Let me see again my calendar. I might actually stream tomorrow night. Or not tomorrow. Not tomorrow. That's Sunday. I mean Monday. I meant Monday.
Monday night. And are you doing it on Twitch?
Yeah.
I will raid you if you're streaming right after I wrap my stream.
Cool.
So I'll make sure that when I finish streaming on Monday, if you're still streaming, I'll host you. Send a couple hundred your way.
Because I gotta build that stuff. There's a garage sale in the neighborhood coming up, and it's like a big, like everybody kind of, well, it's for it's like the one time that the HOA allows you to do like a garage sale.
Yep.
And I want to have a few builds ready for that. So
hell yeah, dude, get it done, man. That'll
I have to have a couple done by I think it's June 4th or something like that.
Do it tomorrow, guys. Hold them to it over on the Twitter. Poke them with a stick.
No. Sunday Monday. Monday. I forgot today was Saturday too. So Monday.
Yeah, I ain't streaming tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. Already tomorrow. You guys have been awesome. I love your face. Let me see. Oh wait, here before I quit, let me try something here really quick. I want to see if
that's right. Yeah, go listen to David's podcast.
Although he's on somebody else's stream. Hold on.
Monday.
Let me get the link and I'll put it on there. He sent it to me. Let me just scroll. I'll find it here. Wait, is that it? No, damn it. Where is
it? Monday morning.
I'll find it. Just give me 1 second here. Let's see. Oh, I found it. Here, let me refresh. Let's see. Is it going already? It says, they still got I think they still got a couple more minutes before they're going. So here, let me put this in here. If you guys want to go continue to watch Mr. David Hewlett, he's going to be on this show right here in chat. So go check him out there, and I'm going to see if I can get this channel to, let's see if they added me. If they did, I'll know real quick. And then I can end the stream after I add them. So customization, add a redirect, other channels. You do not have privileges. Damn. That would have been cool because that's the new feature on YouTube. It basically would have like handed the channel over to them seamlessly. We'll do it next time. But anyways, you guys can click on the link. They're going to start, I think, here in like a minute or something. They're going to get started very quickly. There's already 220 people watching. Damn. So enjoy their show. We'll see you guys again next week. You've been great.
Yeah,
love your faces. Till next time.
Everybody.
End scene.